my lap. So she's a wonderful positive influence. She's wonderful. So, you know, and in that same sense, I believe optimal is possible. And I want to kick this thing off today, talking about what I refer to as the wellness meter. And if you can picture a meter, which I don't have a graphic to show you, but if you can picture a meter where it's like one of those like pegs, almost like a speedometer, like an old school speedometer in your car if you don't have a digital speedometer. So on this side of the wellness meter is optimal wellness. It's proactive. It's a dynamic balance and health. So on this side of on the meter is optimal. If you flip to the other side of the meter, which is hard to do, my shoulder just doesn't do that. So on the other side of the meter, this is where you see sickness and disease and dis-ease. And so that's, we go from optimal all the way to like sick, like full on sick. So in the process of dysfunction, stress-induced, symptoms will manifest right about here. They're actually the last phase in the process, or in the process or the phases of dysfunction. So symptoms will often manifest removed from the cause of the dysfunction itself. So let me give you a couple examples. Sleep issues, skin issues like eczema or chronic headaches. Those three things specifically tend to correlate with a gut health issue or multiple gut health issues. So you don't have an ambien deficiency. There might be, or it's likely that you have something going on in your gut. You can put a cream on your skin all day, but until you heal the thing that is causing the skin issue, you're not going to resolve to optimal. You don't have an Excedrin deficiency. You probably have either a structural imbalance or some sort of structural stress, or you have food sensitivities and you're eating things every day that are causing an inflammatory response that is leading to chronic headaches or even chronic migraines. So symptoms manifest apart from the actual cause of the dysfunction, and they are the last phase of dysfunction on the way to disease. So here's wellness, here's where we start to feel symptoms, and then over here we're like, okay, we're full on sick. So as we look at this wellness meter, when you chase symptoms, when you take a medication or have a surgery to resolve the symptoms, and I'm not talking about things that are like full on necessary. I'm like, if I fall out of a tree and break my arm, I probably would like some measure of acute care for that acute issue. But for chronic issues, if you're just taking a medication or whatever it is to just treat the symptom, you're going from here to this middle point. You're only going to the place on the wellness meter where you don't have symptoms anymore. You're not going all the way back here to proactive, dynamic, balance, and optimal health, where you show up in your life as your best, healthiest, most authentic, most energetic self. And that's where we want to be. We want to be over here. We don't want to be here where we're just not experiencing symptoms. We definitely don't want to be here where we're full on sick, we're experiencing dis-ease or disease. But optimal is possible. So when we investigate the cause of the dysfunction and we take a multidisciplinary mind, body, spirit integrated approach to healing the body as a system of systems, you can stop chasing symptoms and you can start building whole life health. And becoming and being your best, healthiest, most energetic, most authentic self. And stress typically is the cause. Remember that external stress, internal stress, good, bad stress. Remember, not all stress is bad. We can choose for stress to be good stress. We can make adjustments to our environment to set ourselves up for stress success and for transformation success. So not all stress is bad. Without stress, like good, positive, invigorating, challenging stress, or the kind of stress that stops us and causes us to reevaluate, elevates our level of self-awareness. So I'm not anti-stress. I'm against chronic, toxic, dysfunctional stress that takes us on this wellness meter up to symptoms and beyond to dis-ease and disease. But
I love it, Laura.
Optimal as possible.
I love it. I love what you're talking about. I like how you're separating the stress too, because there's some good stress, like exciting things going on in our body.
Yeah.
This feeling, but also about feeling. I love how you talked about let's feel it.
Yeah.
And let's figure out a way to move it. And I feel that with you talking about the meter, I'm holding that space for a moment. I love that, to be able to share where you're taking them. Go for it, Mama.
Awesome. So as I get to share today, I'm going to talk about something called metabolic chaos. And metabolic chaos is that state of dysfunction in your body where you are experiencing symptoms. And then, what is it? What does it feel like? And really, what can we do about it? And what does that look like? So I'm really eager to hear people's questions about stress, about how stress can manifest in our bodies, about metabolic chaos, and how stress cascades. I love waterfalls. I love the natural world. And so on my website and like a lot of my branding has waterfalls on it because stress cascades. The body is the system of systems. So when you're stressed in one area, and to be clear, you could be cooler than the flip side of a pillow, no mental or emotional stress, no external stressors. You're perfectly aligned. You're in the best environment for you to achieve your potential and use your talents and gifts to put yourself at the service of others, and you're just crushing it at life and you're full of joy and gratitude and energy. If you have an internal stressor, like a GI pathogen, you are under a chronic stress state. You are in a chronic physiological stress response if you have that internal stressor. So that's why we got to look at all of them. It's not just leave the job that isn't a right fit for you, where you're not, using your gifts and talents in a way that fulfills you and optimally serves. But it's also, what are you eating that is causing stress in your body and is causing a physiological stress response? What is harming the lining of your gut and causing a physiological stress response? So it's all of those things. It's all of them together.
I love, okay, so I know that before I was taking medicine at 29, that I had these things going on, and I was going to the doctor and they didn't find it because it's not their regular markers. So I felt stressed and I thought it, and I kept thinking about it in my brain. And I hope this helps the audience. I kept thinking in my brain, like, I am not feeling like I'm thinking stressful thoughts, but it's taking me into a depression. And so I didn't have, someone like you to be able to guide me in saying, okay, I don't think it's the exterior. Maybe there's some things, because I know you talk that you work in the mindset also, but let's look at what's really happening in the gut. Wanted to hold that space. Thank you. Excellent.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
Yes. I guess we're moving on. Hey, Laura, before we start your 9 o'clock, it's going to be in about 20 minutes. Was there anything in conclusion that you wanted to bring forward? Because what I was doing, I didn't recognize the time right away. I was truly holding the space because I love that you dialed into internal stress and you also dealt with external stress. So being stressed at work, but maybe it could be something a little different. Maybe it could be internal, something that's going on. But anything else that you wanted to speak before I transition to Christi for her moments?
No, ma'am. I think Christi's on. I'm talking to her right now.
All right. Dusty said, obviously, blocks broke through. It was dammed up, nerve damage, vision loss, now shingles. Okay, so let me see. I might have missed some things from Dusty, but Dusty was having some stuff happening. Yes, Dusty's having some shingles. And so she was talking about how she hasn't been feeling well.
Yeah.
So Dusty's here today. Thank you, Dusty. I love that you're here. And Laura's going to be on at 9 o'clock and I'll be on at 11 o'clock. Let me transition to Christi. Christi Corradi. Christi, thank you, Laura. Christi is a person that I cannot stop playing with. Every time that I see her, I always have to make a smart aleck remark. Christi, do people do that to you, or is it just me and you? And
it's just you. No.
Really? No way.
Well, I am a joyful, playful person. So if people play in that way, then I'm open. Except my son, when he does it, it just like, drives me nuts. It's supposed to, though, right? That's what the mother says.
Exactly.
And when he's 23 years old, right? So,
I do hear that people like our dynamics together. And so I've known Christi for a couple of years now, and we don't get to see each other very often. And I so appreciate you being here, my friend. I know that you have your time to be able to share, really connect with people on what is going on. And Dusty wanted to add that she loves the purple butterflies behind you. So appreciate that, because butterflies are so symbolic. So please share, my friend. But through these times right now, I do notice that we are truly dealing with some spiritual offs. I don't know how to exactly say it, but I know that you'll know the words to use. But the journey of, do I really got this? Can I really handle this? Because as a person that goes into that deep spirit and can really feel the energy and really help people and open up and manifest like you do, you must be seeing things that are happening with a lot of this energy that's feeling not so comfortable. And we've always had that. Now it's elevated even more. So what are you feeling these days, my friend?
well, I actually want to share about, to illustrate that. A Mayan teacher, my son is adopted from Guatemala, and actually we raised him with a Mayan teacher and really understanding that spirituality. And as all of this was approaching, he told us, he talks about the change that's taking place as being the change from being the corn people to the honey people. And the corn people are grounded and rooted to the earth, and it's all a good thing. But as we move to the honey people, it's really a translucent energy and able to transcend the almost like the constraints of being on the physical earth. And for me, that really illustrates what our opportunities are during these unusual times, is that we have the opportunity right now. This is an evolution. In my book that we're going to talk about called Beyond the Box, I tell a story of watching a bug fall in the pool when I was in the pool, and I wanted to save it. And so I took up the water and I splashed it up onto the side. Of course, that bug thought it was dying and thought it was in, something was harming it. And really that tumultuousness was really the thing that was saving its life. And if we can look at this idea of, I don't know how, I don't know what it is, but we put our faith in the fact that the divine, that's my word for God, principle, universal laws, whatever, is the divine. I love that, the divine, and that phrase, that word. And the divine has not changed. It has always been steady and steadfast and true. And it's the same law that was in existence before the pandemic started, and it will remain no matter what the outcome is. The biggest thing that we can do to feel a little bit in charge of that is to move to faith, to move to the idea that I don't know how. It's so empowering if you just give up needing to know how. And it's so hard for most of us. But I know that the divine's got my back, that the divine is right here present, no matter what's taking place.
That's why you're here today, isn't this? I understand the alignment now, because what you are doing for me and the guests of the show, and this is why you get to show up in light today, is that you are seeing that there's purpose, that hunker into your divine and really trust that there's a journey here, and not that everything's taken out from under us, that everything's changed, like this really concerned feeling. Can you share that part of you even more? Because this is where I get very excited. When I talk to you, it does remind me so much of why you get the opportunity to really blast out your beauty even more when we have energies out there that are very scared. You're really a calming spirit to be able to be here and showing up. This is why you're showing up with your new book. So please share with me more. If you can bring some more light and energy into this.
Well, first of all, we have to think about how fear affects us, and how it, and it's great Laura's on here because it affects us physiologically. But if we can begin to identify that is a fear and then replace it with a truth, I really work with my clients on finding, I call them remedy thoughts, that are truth thoughts that replace the fear thoughts, because you can't have the same thought in the same place. I have a mentor I listen to every morning, and he always says, faith and fear can't live in the same moment. And so if we move to a faith or a knowingness, I know a lot of people say, oh, blind faith, this or that, but it's really a knowingness, and it may not come up in our internal, our brain. It comes up in our gut and our heart, that really, to know that we are safe. Now, we've had losses. My friends have lost their home in the Santa Rosa fires here, and we get a choice. Each one of us get a choice how we respond to that. Some people hit depression, and I will say, like Laura said, I had my grief last night. I fell into the sadness of what my friends are going through. And when we lose a loved one, especially when it seems like to this thing, the coronavirus, that it's like, oh no, that got them. And I really challenge people when I tell them this, but do you know the divine is at the center of this virus as well? And the divine is at the center of the loss of our loved ones. We as humans, we fear death, but really there is, eternal life, and it's just an evolution. I don't know what it's about. I don't know what it's like, but, being with both my parents when they passed, I know that there is even a transition as people go over, that you can see that there's eternal life.
I didn't know that, Christi. My grandma passed away 20 years ago. I didn't know to look for signs. I know that I laughed and enjoyed being able to be there with family and talk about her journey. So for people that, where I was 20 years ago, where in these times, what are some of the things that you're finding that people are finding around them, or in the sky, or like what kind of things can they be searching for? Because it must be individual. We're talking to people that are starting to open up their awareness spiritually.
Well, and we get to stand on the precipice, and we get to decide, which side of the valley are we going to go into. And at the very beginning, I'll share a little bit of my own personal story here. At the very beginning of this, I just went, wow. And this is what I do with everything. It's like I find junk on the road. It's like, oh, what can I make this into? Something of beauty. And when this happened, I said right off the bat, I said, what can I do with this? It's like, I'm a take the bull by the horns kind of person. What can I do with this? And I went, oh, the book that I've been meaning to write, and so many things led up to me writing this book. And so I just took it as the nurturing time that Laura was talking about. I hunkered in, I took care of myself. The first 3 days of the pandemic, I slept.
Oh.
Yes. And Laura's going, yes, and I slept, and my system had to kind of start to adjust to this. And then I went, okay, so what can I do with this? So I set out 3 goals for myself. One was to write my book. The second one is to do some deep emotional work. Now, I do that for other people all the time, but this was like me time. And I did, and in our session, we'll talk about that. And the third was to learn to play the didgeridoo. Now, I can play the didgeridoo. I'm still working on the circular breathing part, but it's like what do you choose to do with this? You can fall and sleep on the couch for another 6 months,
Yeah,
but what can you do with this?
yeah,
There's somebody showing up.
I know, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to really adventure in is that where we're going with this is that you'll be here in an hour again, speaking for a full hour. And so we're going to talk about how you were doing a drawing for me based on like an interview.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've got to breathe this in. So what we're doing is we're doing the second part to that. In like some of the awarenesses that have awoken for me after you started drawing, I realized something about myself. So we're going to talk about that. Plus, we're going to speak about your book, and we're going to go in there.
Well, that's what happened as a result of the emotional work I did. See, I help people discover the masterpiece of their life, right? And to how to bring that into the world. And all this time, I had one piece of my life and another piece of my life. And I was continually in a struggle kind of place trying to integrate them. And I went down and did I did a 3-day ceremony with a coach and just went down deep into my emotional life. And every day I would come home and do my drawings. And at the end of this, it was like, oh, that's the integration of the two, my intuitive drawing. And that's what I did with you. And that's what we're going to continue in the second way. It's like each one of us has a masterpiece to bring into the world. And most of us don't know what that is, or we don't have the courage to move into that. Or we think we've done the ceiling type of thing. Oh, but I ran teen camps and programs for a long time, and I've changed so many lives through that, and then through my coaching work, and so many lives I've changed. I'm like, isn't that enough? Haven't I done my work? Can I just sit back on my laurels? And yet there is this urge inside of each one of us to continue to expand. So I was speaking yesterday on a Zoom talk, and I shared a formula with them. E equals MC squared. Have we heard that before? Well, E equals that expanded life, because that's really what we all are here to want to love and live, is an expanded life of joy, of creativity, of beauty, of purpose, right? That's our DNA within us. And so that's the E. And in order to do that, the M represents mindset, and the C represents consistency, because that's what it takes. So it's not about just dreaming it. Yes, the dream is the starting point, but then the consistency of being in action. And the squared, the squared is adding understanding of universal principle. And one of those universal principles is that of wholeness, that no matter what, we are whole. We are the divine in expression. It's like we were put here to express the divine. And anytime we are out of whack with that, that's when we're stuck. That's when we're depressed. That's when we only forget, because we always are whole, that we forget our wholeness.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Christi. I am amazed at Laura and Christi in your knowledge and where you're showing up today. It's really going to help the community. So we have Christi, who spent a few days in bed when this first
on the couch.
On the couch. Thank you, Christi, for I want to know exactly where Christi was laying down, of course. And really got intuitive of what this journey is. And then last night, being in truth with that, you're in a sorrowful space also, watching these things happen where we're having, earth change. We have some dry areas we didn't have, and storms and all these things happening. We've got these fires going. So I love your space. And Laura discussing about, you know, I love that you brought up God. This is, now what you're doing is you get an opportunity to know that this is, when you're with Laura, this is one of the bases or pillars of what helps her get through things. And this is what I love about the Fresh Inspiration Show. Thank you, Christi.
Thank you.
This is what I love about the show, is that I get opportunity to bring in all different areas of thinking and also loving on all of it. All of this is so, so important to me. I want to make sure that the way that you are feeling and the way that, and spiritually, the way that you're coming in, that you're being served, no judging on it has to be this way or that way, but that it is. And I want you to be. I want you to learn what that means for you. So I keep using the word so today. You know what the word so is, everyone? Is the stuck flow. And I feel it starting to open up. I can actually speak to it. It's like this stuck flow. I feel it opening up. So where we're going to go with this.
Can I add to the so thing?
Christi, oh, here goes Christi.
What about the sew thing being like sewing things together? Isn't that what happens when we pause like that? Something is being like connected. Something's drawing together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you, Christi.
I like that. I'm highly metaphorical, and I'll often switch metaphors even in the same sentence. So I like that, because it's a pause, and then we're connecting things together where it's a transition. So I like the sewing.
Oh my gosh, ladies, you know, I've been trying, as we've been going through this, I hope you don't mind that we're basically, you know, on this app, we're getting through this, but as we go along, I'll try and switch. But even though the view is this way, you're going to hear the words that are really going to hold you and help you today. We're going to manifest some really big things. And this is how a live show goes, which is so fabulous, because we're really getting out there. And what I'm learning is that there's no such thing as perfect. So whatever, you know, you can close your eyes, you can listen, or I'll be pinning the video so you can see it in the phone app, but we're really going to be here and serve at a high level for you. So let's transition. Let's get Laura McKenna in. Now, Laura, you got to hear her for about 20 minutes this morning, getting you hunkered in, getting your journey going. And I really love on all the things that Laura has been up to. So Laura, I made a special video for you and for the community so that they get to know you. Are you ready for it? Yes. All right, so that is Laura McKenna in a fun little nutshell, Laura. So, okay, so what I'm getting to know about Laura is that Laura, and I'm gonna give you personal stuff. I mean, if anything I can find out personally, you guys, I'm gonna give it to you now. So Laura McKenna is this person that we are going to be playing back and forth, you and I. And I'm gonna look to see how much you want to know from her. So I want you to be posting, and I want you to be playing with this. That every time that Laura says something that just really gets you, go for it. Because Laura loves to laugh. She loves to play. She loves to be spontaneous. Did you see that video? That's her like lifting weights, laughing and playing. And that's what I'm learning about Laura. And I've been watching you, Laura, as we've gotten into this beautiful space together, is that you are very serious about what you're working on. You're finding that people are confused when it comes to what the stress is, like what you said earlier, if it's internal or on the outside, and that's normal. that's normal because sometimes we just think, oh, I'm stressed, and it just goes there. So you're going to give some insightfulness about the metabolic chaos. You're going to allow people to be able to hear your mindset space where you get to share anything you want to today about your journey and the deep, deep struggles that you have had. And I know that's going to show up. I know we're also going to talk about what symptoms mean. Like, so if I have an itch on my skin, does that mean I have to go get calamine lotion and just let it be? Or does that mean we need to, you know, if they're a client of yours, aren't we going to be talking about more than just like the exterior? So Laura's going to go in and play all in for you. So ask questions. I see people coming in, and you go for it. And what I like to do here is make sure you know that Laura has years of experience being in this area. It's a safe space. Even though you're in the group, the Fresh Inspiration Show, Mindset Transformation, every month when we bring people together, the experts get to share with you everything that you're asking. So be as vulnerable as you're ready to be, because Laura is here to serve. Welcome in, Laura. Welcome
Thank
in.
you.
I'm used to a live audience. This is my
Yeah.
clap. And Christi was playing too. Thank you, Christi, for clapping.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, Laura, so please share, my friend. I know you're ready to get going here. Please share with us.
So if we were in a live audience session, I would ask people to just close their eyes. So if you're live and you want to just, you know, as you're listening and you're sitting, just close your eyes for a moment, and just feel or connect with the symptoms that I am describing. Exhaustion, sadness, constipation, lethargy and ennui, bloating, chronic UTIs, chronic pain, interstitial cystitis, trouble sleeping, overwhelm and anxiety, abdominal pain, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, moodiness, irritability on the level of personality hijack, hormone imbalance, existential angst, headaches. Someone shared earlier, shingles, eczema. And you can open your eyes, as I'm listing these out, this is metabolic chaos. That it's the dysfunctional state when stress in your life and your body cause symptoms, and sometimes even a list of symptoms that seem to be unrelated, but are definitely frustrating, and maybe even have you to a place of just hopelessness and despair. And maybe you don't feel listened to by providers who are either telling you that you're imagining it, or that they're not seeing those issues show up in your lab test results. But you have these things, you know something is wrong, that this may be normal, but that doesn't make it okay. Because you know that optimal is possible. And you know that living with symptoms is not the life that you want for yourself. So I'm so excited to be here today to help you with that, and to help you get to the life that you want for yourself. And I acknowledge you could be anywhere right now, and you chose to be here with us. So I thank you for that. I feel honored that I get to share some valuable information with you that can help you to show up in your life as your best, healthiest, most energetic, most authentic self. So I know Rhonda introduced me. I'm Laura McKenna. I am the founder, owner, and lead coach at Strength and Shield Coaching. I am a West Point graduate. I'm an Afghanistan veteran. I'm a former leadership instructor at West Point. That was my last duty station in the Army before I transitioned to the civilian corporate world. My master's degree is in physiology, exercise physiology, education, and I have a background in leader development. I am an executive clarity coach, and I'm a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. So between what I've experienced in my life, and I want to share just some of my stories with you. I know all of us, our lives are really just a compilation of our stories, just a compilation of what we have experienced. Our lives are not what we have achieved. Our lives are what we have experienced. And I want to share some of those things with you today. So between what I've experienced in my life and then, the certifications and the degrees that I do have, I consider myself a stress expert. And that is why I founded Strength and Shield Coaching. I help achievers to show up in their lives as their best, healthiest, most authentic, most energetic selves. I help achievers to get their lives back. And I do that by looking at the symptoms and then investigating the source of dysfunctional stress in your life or in your lives, like your job, your relationships, past trauma, mental models that are causing stress or causing you to show up or to behave in a way that is not truly aligned with who you are, what you value, what your talents and giftings are, that caused you to live out of alignment with how God created you and what you were created to do, out of alignment with your purpose. And then I help investigate sources of stress in your bodies, inflammation, immune system issues, hormone issues, digestion issues, detoxification issues, neurological issues, and neural health, issues and concerns that are going on. And then I do that by providing inspiration, education, coaching, and I provide community that helps to solve those issues at root cause, at their source, and stop the cycle of let's stop just chasing symptoms, right? So let's stop treating symptoms and start building health. And that's how we transform stress into success. So I believe optimal is possible. Health, peace, productivity, purpose, alignment, authenticity, energy, all of this is possible, and it's possible at the same time. And I want to share with you a couple of stories from my life, because over the course of my life, I have experienced a number of highly stressful events. Like if you look at the list of things that are most stressful, I've experienced a number of them. So job changes, being in jobs that weren't a right fit for me, toxic bosses, relocation. In my 42 years on earth, I have relocated 25 times. And I call that, if I moved my kitchen from one space to another space, that was a relocation. So like when I was stationed in Korea, I moved 3 times in the 3 years that I was stationed there. I moved from an apartment to another apartment on post and then back to an apartment off post. So those 3 count as, the 3 relocations, even though it was just one permanent change of station or PCS move to Korea and then back from Korea. So relocations, custody suits, divorce, sexual assault, and then military deployments. So when I describe myself as a stress expert, it is as much from personal experience as it is from my, certifications or formal level of expertise. So stress affected my mental models. It affected my decisions. It affected my relationships. It affected my behavior. And it absolutely affected my joy. So when I say stress, as I shared earlier, I'm not talking about the positive, challenging, invigorating, aligned, growth-inducing stress. I'm talking about dysfunctional, toxic, chronic stress. So for me and for many of us out there, stress led to imbalance in my body, which led to symptoms and disease. So as a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, I call this dysfunctional state of stress, imbalance, and subsequent illness metabolic chaos. So when I was a first-year cadet at West Point, I was sexually assaulted. And given just the stress, I mean, it's designed to be stressful. And I want to be clear, that experience is not consistent with the values on which the military academy is founded. So it is not representative of West Point, but it is part of my experience. And given the chronic stress that I was under during that first year, I did not have a menstrual period for 13 months. And by the middle of second semester of that year, I weighed less than 100 pounds. So decidedly not healthy. And in hindsight, and this is after years of doing the hard work of self-awareness, Christi talked about, as she opened and shared this morning, doing that deep emotional work. We all need to do that. We owe it to ourselves to look at our families of origin and just our experiences. What are the things that we learned were normal? What were the ways in which our subconscious was programmed, or what are the ways in which we were conditioned? What are the major life events or the impactful events? What are the traumas, in my case, given what I'm describing right now, what are the traumas that shaped our mental models? And in this case, after doing that work, that deep dive of self-awareness, I realized that I was operating under a false mental model. And that false mental model was that violation was the price I had to pay to achieve an outcome or to achieve goals. So there was a transaction, what I believed subconsciously. I want to be very clear. I was not consciously aware. I was not consciously choosing this way of thinking or this way of approaching my life. But I subconsciously believed that there was a transaction necessary with receiving anything I wanted to experience or achieve. Dysfunctional stress was necessary to create the desired outcome. So this included anything from like being mildly irritated, like I would, surround myself with people that, were just mildly irritating, right? Like maybe just not fully aligned. I didn't truly enjoy, being around them. Mild irritation to struggle, to stress, to full-on violations of my boundaries, my values, and in many ways, my sense of self-respect and who I really am. And this mental model had me believing that suffering was a requirement. And again, I'm not talking about growth-inducing, stress that is invigorating and challenging and challenges us to be better. I'm talking about toxic, dysfunctional stress.
Laura, can I hold that for a moment? I love that. Okay, so I used to be in space like this, and I've heard you speak about this before. Can we talk about that just for a moment? About
for sure.
Space, and you believe that being in a space of, and tell me if I'm saying it right too, that you believe that being in space and being agitated was a normal thing. Like, right. And I want to add a layer into that, because I used to think like there was not much abundance in my life. I really felt like this was normal life. Like if my skin felt yucky because I was around people, I thought, oh, well, that's what life is. These are the people that are in my life. So when you bring that up, that to me is amazing to say, well, let's take a step back and look at that. Because that's part of showing that you're dealing with some deep stress and you're not getting a clearing to realize that you would get an opportunity to be making choices of who you're around.
Right. And it was in all sorts of things, rushing, anxiousness. I mean, like little things, like I was constantly late because I was constantly rushing, because I was constantly over obligating, because I was constantly people pleasing, because I believed that was the price, that was normal. And so I was sort of in this constant state of anxiousness. And honestly, it was pretty miserable. And it kept me from my peace. It kept me from truly connecting with others in intimate relationships, instead of just kind of that superficial, like getting along with everyone, but really having like close, I have, from this period of time in my life, I really have very few close friendships where I let people see, or I really was in a state of like peace and like realness with them.
Oh gosh, so Laura, I want to keep holding this. So this light, not a lot of people talk about it this way. And so when people are going in and saying, oh, it just must be me. Oh, I'm having this problem. And you go into this state of starting to blame yourself because the deep undercurrent space, it's like systemically, you really are looking for the peace and you think, well, I'm the one that has the issue. You can't blame it on somebody else because we're not going there, but we're really speaking to the fact of there's something that is some chaos.
Yeah.
It goes straight to the metabolic chaos.
Right. Right. And what you're really describing too, I mean, there are two parts to this. One is I take responsibility for myself. I may not have created the mental model, but I am responsible for owning that mental model, changing that mental model, and taking responsibility for the effect of that mental model. And so that's that first part. But then there also is an external part where we can choose our environment. If we want to be optimally ourselves and most authentically ourselves and use our gifts and talents in a way that is aligned, we do also have a responsibility for shaping our environment. And I'll give you just an example of that. When I transitioned from the military, I didn't really think a lot about what I wanted to be doing or what was consistent with my values or what I was truly good at. In the military, I had done so many things. I mean, I was an officer in the Army, and so I've done logistics, I've done operations, I've done personnel management, I've done people leadership. I mean, I've done this, I have this plethora of skills, but that doesn't mean that those are talents. And that doesn't mean that those are giftings where when I'm operating in them, my cup is full and overflowing. And so when I took a job, I didn't really consider like, what's the culture I want to operate in? What is the work I truly enjoy doing? What am I talented at? In what ways has God gifted me with talents? I didn't really consider that. I considered paying my mortgage. Like, what do you want to do when you get out of the Army, Laura? Well, I'd like to still pay my mortgage. And so I just took the job that was going to pay me the most. I didn't really consider any of the other stuff. And so doing that deep dive into my identity, and you know what? I was miserable at that job. I was anxious on the way to work. I would cry on my way home from work. I would hyperventilate in the parking lot. I had to talk myself into the building because it was just not the right environment for me. And that's not to say that it was a toxic environment. It just wasn't the right one for me. I want to be customer facing. I want to be interacting with the person I'm serving. I don't want to sit at the same desk. You put me in a cubicle, I start behaving like a caged animal. Like it's just not the right space for me. I want autonomy. I want to connect. And so just realizing that through that experience, that's what I mean when I say that, I just wasn't showing up in my life as myself. And that's stressful. That's that existential angst. That's that ennui. That's when you're like, I just feel lethargic and I feel badly about myself because I know I'm not contributing in the best way possible and showing up as myself and using the gifts that I've been given. And that's a detriment both to the people in that environment and also to me. In the Army, I wore a mask and it was tremendously stressful. I was so just driven by people pleasing and just performing. And so I just showed up in a way that is not consistent with my values. And I'm embarrassed about some of those things. I was jocular and, I tried to, I'm very feminine, but I believe you can be both feminine and tough. And I live that every day. But in the military, I didn't feel like that would be accepted. And maybe it would have. Maybe if I showed up as my authentic self, that would have been just fine. And people would have been cool with that. But I didn't, because of that mental model, because of that subconscious programming, I didn't believe that. And so I tried to fit in and like be one of the guys instead of being both feminine and tough. I tried to be jocular and crude, and, you know, tough in like a masculine way instead of tough in a strong, powerful, authentic, feminine way. And so that's what I mean by when just being inauthentic and not even realizing it. And that's incredibly stressful. Wearing a mask every day will make you sick, man. It will make you sick. Stress makes you sick. And it absolutely made me sick.
Yeah, and come on, audience, tell me what you're feeling about this. When I was in kindergarten, I really believed that we could choose to be a girl or a boy. And in my life, I knew that being a boy was easier in my family. Like at my grandma's house, around my uncles, that if I was a boy, I didn't get spanked, or I didn't, you know, get yelled at, or I didn't get looked upon a certain way. And so it was Halloween, and my mom's boyfriend was talking about so-and-so, and they said, well, you know, they were a girl, but I knew they were a boy, but they were dressed up as a girl. And I said, oh, I want to wake up tomorrow and I want to be a boy. And then I realized that I couldn't choose that. And it made me sad. So all my life, I lived in this masculine sense and thought that that was the way to show up. So when you were talking about being at a place that's toxic, first thing is I wanted to be masculine because I thought if I do that, then people will listen to me and they'll do exactly what I want them to do. I can control it, you know, like the sense I was in at that moment. And it seemed to really get me sick and not even feel like I was part of anything because nobody enjoyed being around me.
Right. Well, me either. I was hostile. I was, you know, just I was defensive. Like when you're not yourself, you're not yourself. When you're not yourself, you're not yourself.
Yeah.
And you know, it makes you hard to be around.
Yeah, and Dusty says, I cried daily on the way to and from the job for 12 years.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, Dusty, I feel you, but my gosh, 12 years, that's such a long time to live in that state of sadness and misery and truly not bring your best self. So I really feel for you in that way. So as I'm, you know, thinking about that learning and what a tremendous learning experience that really was. This stress is necessary mental model affected my emotional life. But as I shared, it also made me physically sick. And when I realized that I was essentially living by rules that were false, that, you know, that was a lie, and that I could live rested and that I could experience peace and crush it with my productivity. Like it wasn't, you know, I wanted to live this life of and when I realized that and was possible, like it wasn't peace or achievement, it's achievement with peace, achievement because of peace. It's huge. It's a whole paradigm shift. And it rocked my world, man. And it's part of why I'm on this mission to help achievers be themselves, their healthiest selves, because I know how that feels. And it definitely made me sick. So I had sleep issues. I mean, when I opened this with just that, like feel with me these symptoms, I had so many issues that were like all over the place, man. I mean, they were everywhere. I had sleep issues. I had debilitating fatigue. I would feel lethargic. I had sadness. Like I would just be sad. I felt like I had a lack of purpose. I had piercing abdominal pain. And I had constipation. I mean, like, listen, I'm a gut health expert, man. We're going to talk about poop. Okay, poop is a thing. Like you should, right? Like poop is good. You should have good bowel movements, healthy bowel movements. It's an indicator of your health. So let's just talk about it. Like it's okay. I had back pain. I had chronic pain. God bless my chiropractor who really helped me get structurally aligned, not just, like philosophically aligned, and aligned in my life, but structurally aligned, and helped me overcome that chronic pain. I had interstitial cystitis, which is an inflammation of the lining of my bladder. I had chronic UTIs, which is also bladder related, but different issues. I experienced severe bloating. I had hormone imbalance. I had low testosterone. You don't hear about women having low testosterone. All the low T, commercials that you see out there are dudes in a gym, right? And they're losing their hair and they can't lift as much as they used to. I am a woman who had low testosterone, and it wreaked havoc on my hormones. I had PMDD. My menstrual cycles were an absolute nightmare. And I just felt awful. I just didn't feel good. And when you don't feel good, that doesn't feel good. And so it's important to note that I also at this time had healthy habits. Like I've always been very fit, even, as a kid. So I was eating very clean. I was exercising. I have healthy exercise habits. I'm an avid CrossFitter. I was drinking half my body weight in ounces in water. I have a healthy faith life. Like by all accounts, I was doing my part to be well. And I still have these habits, right? But the difference is now they actually make a difference, which is huge, right? And that investigation of what was going on in my mental life, my spiritual life, my emotional life, and my physical body, was so important, because even though I was doing my part to be healthy, I still had all these symptoms because stress was making me sick. And the experts were scratching their heads, right? My physicians would say things like, well, your labs all look normal. Maybe what I hadn't progressed to the point on that wellness meter, to the point that they were showing up as markers on what those physicians were looking for or looking at. So I would hear your labs all look normal, or my favorite was, you're the healthiest patient I have. And I'm like, good God, if I'm the healthiest patient you have, and I have this constellation of symptoms, what does the rest of society feel like? Like, this is terrible. I feel terrible for those people. So they were willing to prescribe medications or even do a surgery. I had a uterine cancer scare. And I was like 33 years old. And my OBGYN, he was like, listen, if you don't have a uterus, you don't have uterine cancer. And I was like, hold your scalpel, buddy. Like, let's look at what's causing that to occur. And so I just asked him, like, can we wait for a little bit? And I made some significant changes to my lifestyle. I changed my nutrition. I started seeing a chiropractor. Like I went to work on relying on my body's innate intelligence. The cells don't have to be told what to do. God designed our bodies beautifully. Like, we are miraculous creations. The cell doesn't have to be told what to do. So if you just give the cell what it needs to function optimally, it will function optimally. It will do what it's designed to do. And when the cells are doing what they're designed to do, they build the organs that do what organs are designed to do. And when organs are doing what they're designed to do, the systems that the organs make up will do what they're designed to do. And when those systems are functioning the way they're supposed to function, the body as a system of systems will function the way it's supposed to function. And that's how we work to coach down metabolic chaos and coach up optimal health.
So Laura,
going to work at that integrative whole life level.
Yeah. So Laura, we were in there in that stress level, huh? So you were saying, to recap, to really get some light in there even more, because this, I feel everything you're saying is so powerful. So you were eating great. You're the best and healthiest that your doctor's ever seen, but they're ready to give medicine. And I feel like that's where I was at 29 also, but I still got on medicine. But you actually took a step back because you had a lot of things that they were saying, well, I'll give you medicine for this. Now there's this going on. Now there's that going on. And all of a sudden they're finding purpose to give medicine. When somebody's in that state and you're coaching them, when they're in that deep stress, where do you go when you know that when you're looking at their diet, you're like, okay, well, on the exterior, you're right. that's why you're coming to me, is that you're not feeling well, but we're not really talking about the food. So you're putting that off to the side. So where do you go in that mental space to be able to support through that mindset area that you're talking about?
Yeah. So a couple of things there, because food does matter. We are all uniquely designed, right? We have biochemical and genetic individuality. So when I do work with a client on what they should be eating, there's no one best diet for everyone. And so I like to do a metabolic typing assessment so that I can prescribe and design a protocol for a client based on what they uniquely should be eating that will be the best for their body. And food can be so confusing. Like, should I be a vegetarian? Should I be vegan? And aside from the moral or philosophical approach, to eating, I'm talking really just the practical approach to eating. Should I be 40-30-30 macronutrient balance? Should I follow the Mediterranean diet or the heart healthy diet? Or should I be keto? Or should I be paleo? I mean, there's so many different things. And, I bet all of them work for somebody, but not all of them work for everybody. And the reason for that is that biochemical uniqueness. And so actually, it's one of the first steps in our coaching is I'll do an assessment with a client to get a sense of what they specifically should be eating, what proportion of macronutrients, what micronutrients and trace minerals do they maybe need more of, or maybe that they should actually avoid because of their unique genetic and biochemical makeup. So there is that part of it. And that's what I was not doing. When I did the investigation, I realized I really was eating the wrong things for what my body really needed. And that was a cause of metabolic chaos. That was a cause of stress physiologically and in my body. But then as we switch to the mindset side of that, when someone has this constellation of symptoms and they feel frustrated and they start to feel despair, and they don't feel listened to by a practitioner, who just, I had one physician was like, listen, yeah, you have all these symptoms, but nothing's showing up in your lab. So I'm just going to prescribe you an antidepressant.
Yeah.
But I'm not depressed, dude. I'm like a human golden retriever. Like there's no, right. There's no need for an antidepressant for this person. It was really just, I'm not sure if his goal was just sort of to placate me, like pet the kitty, like, you're fine, or if it was just like he was trying to help me with my mental state because I felt overwhelmed by, I have all this stuff going on and I didn't feel listened to, but I knew something was wrong. And so it's amazing to me the number of clients who come to me and they're like, oh my gosh, that's me. Like, I know something is wrong. I know it. And it's showing up as symptoms, but nobody seems to be willing to help me with that or even take me seriously that this is what I'm experiencing. And so the first thing I do is just encourage them. Like, first of all, you're heard. You're not crazy. And I love this when their labs come back, because as a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, I don't guess, I test. So I have the ability to run lab tests. I can run a hormone panel. I can look for markers of oxidative stress and indicators of gut health. I can look at your cortisol circadian rhythm throughout the day. I run a leaky gut test. I run a food sensitivity test. I do an analysis of your metabolic type. I look for GI pathogens on a lab test. After giving you some biofilm disruptors, because GI pathogens are sneaky. They're really good at surviving. They will build a membrane around themselves as a protective barrier. So if you don't break down that cover of their house, that membrane, you could do a stool test that won't pick up the presence of a GI pathogen because you haven't disrupted the biofilm first. You got to do that first. So I'll do that. FDNs don't guess, we test. So when I get a client's labs back and I'm like, girlfriend, you're exhausted because you're literally not producing cortisol. Like, your cortisol levels in your sum is so low that what you're experiencing is the latter stages of dysfunction of the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. You are in full-on metabolic chaos. You're in that stage of dysfunction where your body can no longer effectively adapt to stress. So we've got to design you a protocol that reduces the stress internally and externally, and let's coach up your vital reserve, coach down metabolic chaos. But I tell people, I deal in hope. I deal in hope that, first of all, we can fix this holistically with a multidisciplinary approach. So let's get our minds right, because we can fix this. Optimal is possible. Like, that's just not like some sort of tagline.
Yeah.
I really believe it. And I impart and try to project that belief on my peeps who are struggling, and they feel that despair.
Yeah, Dusty.
Did that answer your question? I feel like that was a little...
No, and I think you might have answered Dusty's question, but there, you may want to add in, because there was a specific thing saying, how do you know what your body needs? Because you were talking, I believe you covered that, but if you want to share any more, because Dusty's specifically asking that. She says, and then another thing, she says, quit antidepressant medication. Now we're talking about somebody who is saying, it's time to quit stuff. So what's the transition? So now there's a couple questions here. So now you are finding that after testing, these are the things that are happening. And this happens to me quite often too. And now somebody's taking medicine for something, and it's probably related with, what you said, there's all these different types of medicine. We've all seen them in our family, and maybe we're even taking them. And so how's that play for you when somebody's like, hey, I don't want to take this insulin, but my doctor's saying I need to, but I don't want to do it. So Laura, I'm here. Or I want to be off some type of medicine, but the transition seems to be hard, or the doctor's telling me not to do it because you have to go through a transition. So what do you philosophically, or what's your steps that you do to be able to help? This is great discussion, because these are the questions people are working through right now.
Right. So first of all, I want to be clear. I'm a health coach. I'm not a medical professional. And so
you got some ideas, my friend.
Yes, right. So I actually don't coach people off medication. Going off medication is a conversation they should have with their physician based on resolution of symptoms and based on their personal choice for how they want to manage their approach to their own well-being. Mm-hmm. What I help them with is resolution of symptoms. So that's where I fit into that. These are the things that you might consider having when you're working to get off medication. Pharmaceuticals have side effects, but that's not to say that for some people, they aren't necessary for either a short time or depending on the nature of the dysfunction. What I help people with is the resolution of symptoms that makes it possible for them to consider going off medication. But as a health coach, that's not an area that I operate in, because I operate in integrity in all things. And I understand that that's a lane that I don't have the licensure to make recommendations around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting, Laura, because I like that you are speaking to this, because people need to know. Like, there's some health coaches that slowly, with the partnering of a doctor, slowly bring somebody off medicine. And the way that you test.
I think the key part of that is partnering with the medical professional.
Yep.
So absolutely. And that's what I mean by integrative and multidisciplinary. There's not just one aspect, for sure.
Yep. I love it.
Yeah.
And Dusty said, gotcha. We have a few more people. But sometimes what's wonderful is that make sure you're taking your notes, and we're going to know how you get to connect with Laura also. Laura, was there additional things you wanted to add, or should we go right in there while we're connecting right now with how to be able to meet up with you? If it's, connect with you through instant message, or do you have a specific landing page you want them to go to, or a specific group? Where would you like, or do you have a gift? What would you like to do, my friend?
Yeah, so actually a few things to share. I do have a Facebook coaching community in which I post tips and just lifestyle factors that, I mean, there are practical action steps that you can take to coach down metabolic chaos and to coach up optimal health and to build health. So I provide those tips in my Facebook community. And it's Strength and Shield Coaching community. So yeah, I would love for people to join that group and to get those practical action steps that they can take. My website is always a great way to connect with me at strengthandshieldcoaching.com. And then as a gift, I offer a complimentary workshop on metabolic chaos, which I realized as we've been talking, I haven't even defined or fully described metabolic chaos yet. So definitely take advantage of that gift and, you know, come to my complimentary workshop on metabolic chaos, because in that workshop, I define it and the physiology of what metabolic chaos really is. And then we go through an analysis of how metabolic chaos is manifesting in your body. And so what are the ways in which that you are experiencing metabolic chaos? Because remember that wellness meter that I talked about, symptoms are here in the middle. And we don't just want to get back to where we're not experiencing symptoms. We want to go all the way over to where we are our best, healthiest, most dynamic, most productive, most authentic, most energetic, like all of the good things. If you're a creative, most creative, you know, all of those things that you can experience when you are in a state of proactive, dynamic balance and health building. And that's where I help people get to. So yeah, those three things, but absolutely that is my gift to you, is that complimentary workshop.
How would you like them to connect with you? And I tagged you in here also, so you know exactly where we're going in live, and you can definitely do that. But I would love to hear. So through email, did you say, or how would they be able to connect with you?
I mean, I guess I could just give you one. The Facebook community is the best way to receive information. But if they go on my website and they can, you know, just submit the contact, that's the best way to get through to my email. But I mean, certainly email, like I'll write you back. I would love to hear from people. It's the longest email address you've ever heard in your life. But if you're typing, and I don't know if it's because I grew up in the military. I'm a third generation West Point grad. I'm an Army brat. I spent 13 years on active duty. I can't just leave my last name off. Right? I just can't. So I was like, maybe I should make this Laura at strengthandshieldcoaching.com. But I just can't, because what if there's another Laura on my team someday? And then we have Laura 1 and Laura 2, like that's not okay. So it's Laura.McKenna at strengthandshieldcoaching.com, and email me directly, please do.
Yeah, and I won't put it in here because I think I know it, but I want to make sure that you put it in here so there's not two in here. But I think I got it, but I'm just going to let you go in there.
Okay.
But it's not that long. It's actually the name of your business, which is great, the Strength and Shield Coaching. I love that. And Christi, if you are ready, there's so many things. I mean, like as I was going along, and audience, please keep adding in. But what have you been learning through this 45 minutes of Laura just like giving all this good information?
Oh, it's just lovely to hear that there's somebody that first of all just will listen. You know, I mean, I think that was one of the things I really heard. It's like, I will listen, and then also I will do the work to help you discover this, you know. So I just love that. And then so many things, you know, I even have a wellness section in my book, and because our health is a reflection of our belief systems, and that was huge. And it's,
Yes.
you know, it's exactly where it comes from. So yeah, it's like, it's right on. So I think people should really reach out to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then Christi, I don't know if you got any hits on just what you were learning about what Laura was saying. And for me, okay, so I'm a health coach, but we all learn from each other. It's fabulous. And that's why I love doing this show. So what I got from it is that I want to always be seen and heard. And so when you're going to your doctor and you're feeling like you need to be your advocate, that is essential.
Yeah.
Because you can get on medicine. And Laura, where were you when I was 29 going on thyroid medicine?
I'll tell you, my doctors did not appreciate it when I pushed back. So to be clear, I have total respect for medical professionals. My mom is a nurse. My grandmother is a nurse, or was a nurse. So I have tremendous respect for medical professionals. But when I have an acute issue, I want a medical doctor. When I fall out of a tree I'm climbing and I break my arm, when I'm attacked by a shark, which pretty much never happens, by the way.
I love this.
I'm killed by hippos every year than they are by sharks. Okay. I actually love sharks, but it's it's just these, acute issues. If I'm in a car accident or, whatever, if I fall while I'm doing yard work and I step on the rake and it comes up and it hits me in the head, like I want a medical professional for an acute issue. But for these chronic issues, they are related to underlying stressors. Otherwise, they wouldn't be chronic. So we've got to get to those hidden stressors. In a mind, body, spirit approach that looks at both external and internal sources of stress. And medical professionals are that's not their jam. And that's cool because it's mine. And I want to help people do it. Like I'm convinced this is the reason I was put on earth. This is the purpose. I want to help people show up in their lives as their best, healthiest selves.
That's your masterpiece. Absolutely. Yeah. And I love my doctor, my medical doctor. She's like, I can only do these medical kind of things. Keep working with your practitioner. She'll say that to me. So I love that and I chose her because she was open-minded to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, then that's important too, huh? To be able to find somebody that fits you. So if you're feeling, sorry about that, ladies. If you are feeling that that you're not being seen and heard, there's so many wonderful people out there to take care of you, because it's definitely a partner space. And when you're feeling that you are having some gut stuff, but everything's normal. And this is what I love, Laura, and I bet you love on this too. When your doctor says there's nothing wrong, isn't that exciting? Because what that means is that you're not in the sick area, in the medical world. So now my body's not hurt or getting hurt, but I feel hurt. Like this is like, oh my gosh, my lining in my stomach is hurting. And this is the opportunity where we get the chance to be able to start healing things before it gets into a space where the doctor says, all right, now you're sick. Now I see it. And that's when I love people coming to me. Because it used to scare me at first when people would say, the doctor's saying there's nothing wrong. I started so many years ago, and I have 10 minutes of energy pretty much all day, and the doctor can't find anything. And it used to scare the heck out of me when I first started.
Oh, no, I love that when people come with that. Yeah, because that tells me on that wellness meter where they are. If they're like right here where they're experiencing symptoms, they're tending toward disease. That's the zone where I really want to help people. And I know that's your heart as well, Rhonda, and I think that's the difference between sickness care and wellness care. Mm-hmm. We don't just want to work at the symptom level. We don't just want to resolve the sickness. We want to build health. And I think there's a fundamental difference between those two approaches to health. Yeah.
And Dusty added in, alternative healing is awesome. I know it's really scary when you hear you have to take medicine, you have to. And I love the pushback that you were talking about, like, hold the scapula. And see, everybody, that's where you
Put
get,
the
that's where you get the
scapula
Laura
down.
experience.
Yeah.
Back away from the scapula.
And that was how I felt. I was like, whoa.
I bet.
Yeah. Right? Like it's not even uterine cancer yet. We're like, you know, on the different phases, like if you do like a skin or a tissue biopsy.
Yeah.
So on the tissue biopsy, like there's the scale of like 1 to 5 of abnormality. 5 is cancer. Well, I was at a 4. And so he was like, let's take your uterus out. And I was like, I mean, I don't plan to use it again, but I understand that my body's a system of systems. And if we offset one of the systems, there will be no balance. There can be no dynamic homeostasis if one of the systems is not awesome. And I love for all my systems to be awesome. And I love for other people's systems to all be awesome. So I was like, slow down. Put it down. Let's do a little work first. And then, you know, 6 months later, he did a surgical biopsy, did a scrape of my uterine lining. Actually, it was 9, maybe 10 months later. And he called me and he was like, listen, I don't know what you did, but I can't even find any abnormal tissue. My mom is a certified oncologist. She is a certified cancer nurse. And before she retired, my parents are amazing, amazing human beings. I am so blessed. My mom has just this, I swear, empathy is her superpower. And so she worked in end of life care, people who are dying from cancer. She helped so many people transition from this life to the next. And counseled their families, and just, my God, the woman has a heart like the size of Montana. I mean, she's just a remarkable human. She's a cancer nurse, and she's in the kitchen with me when I took this call from my doctor, who was like, man, I don't know what you did, but I can't even find any abnormal tissue. And at the time, I was not an FDN. I was still on active duty in the Army. But I knew I was onto something. I knew that there were things that we could be doing that achieved wellness and didn't just address symptoms. I knew it then in my guts. Actually, when I got out of the Army, I was like, maybe I'll become a naturopathic physician. And then I realized at the time that I had two kids in middle school. I was like, we need to be saving for them at this point. Like, I just need to get a job and pay the mortgage. And, you know, so, but what a great learning experience. But my guts, right? The Holy Spirit uses our vagus nerve, man. Mm-hmm. And my gut told me that there was something there. And now I have a full-time job that I super love, that's a whole other story of that journey of coaching down metabolic chaos and really showing up in my life as my best, most authentic, healthiest self. But now, and Christi, you were talking earlier about the opportunity that the pandemic presented to you. The opportunity the pandemic presented to me was it cleared some things off my plate so that I could start my dream business. I mean, I've been dreaming about doing this for upwards of a decade. I was like, oh, I gotta help people see through the chaos of their symptoms and achieve wellness, like real wellness, dynamic wellness, with a system that they can apply whatever their environment is, or whatever, you know, because especially military members, where I just had a good friend of mine moved to Italy. She's in a different environment now than she was before. The seasons are changing. It's a different environment, and your body is in this, when it's in this state of dynamic balance, you can transition season to season and be healthy all the time because you know how to build health. So that's the education part of what I do with my clients. Anyway, I'm getting kind of fired up, so I'll
this is there. We're getting to know you more, and you know what the thing is that our body is always looking at healing, and so
our body has that innate intelligence. It wants to heal,
and so we're very concerned as women with our uterus and also our breasts. And so as soon as something comes up, that's the time to have those discussions. You know, how do I feel like that? Should my breast really be taken out because I have a gene that does that, you know, and that's individuality. If that's what you want to do, yes, do that. Like, we're not in this discussion about trying to change anybody's views. It's like, I know there's so many people out there that are looking for this information. They're trying to find that alternative space. They don't want their uterus taken out, but there's a potential that you could have had cancer, and that's what the space is. That's what they know in Western medicine. What you get to do in this space of knowing that the body is trying to always find homeostasis. And when you know that, then you get to start asking those questions about, like what you talked about, the stress levels, what you're eating, is it bringing on inflammation? And if everything's going in that area, then it doesn't have the other opportunities to kind of search around, take care of other parts of the body. So you're allowing, with the testing you're doing, to go right in there systemically, see what's going on. Or one of the culprits, as you're discovering other things as you go along and work with somebody. So this conversation has fueled so much important space on making decisions about your wellness journey, about your illness journey. If you're feeling like you're in the ill space, but you know what, your body's still trying to heal. So do I kind of like what Laura said, put the scalpel down. I'll be back in about, I'll be back. I'll be back. I just want to go. I just want to go check. I just want to go do a couple things. So thank you, my friend. As we're transitioning into Christi, it is a true transition. Anything else you'd like to add? Because you served a beautiful purpose today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just want to invite people to connect with me. So I would, if you connected with any of this information, or especially my story, my mental models and how stress was making me sick, and how I have worked to overcome that, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Join my Facebook community, and please come to my complimentary workshop. I would love, love, love to really get into metabolic chaos with you and see how it's affecting you in your life. So I would just love the opportunity to connect.
Thank you so much, Laura. Now Laura is hanging out, and
yeah. Although I am going to take a quick potty break.
Yeah, I was going to say, she might need to do a go pee. That's what we call a go pee.
Yes.
And, or you have to raise your hand, like
right.
Yeah. This is like kindergarten. We said we have to raise our hand. Yeah, so, but thank you. Thank you, my friend. Excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, that was really awesome.
Well, you know what? It's time to introduce Christi Corradi in another next layer. So, Christi, guess what? I put a video together for you. Let's rock it. Here we go. So I have the intro with our song. Inspiration, fresh inspiration, fresh inspiration, fresh inspiration. Oh, I love that. Okay, so since we're having some technical stuff, Christi, you didn't get to see it because I didn't share a screen because I have so many things going on. So sorry about that, my friend.
Send it to me.
But what is in there is I made a video for of you of all your intuitive pictures.
Oh, nice.
So I went through and I had the beginning of you painting and through the Fresh Inspiration song. So you'll be able to see that in our group. I have been trying to go on so we can interface. So everyone, thank you for still hanging out and enjoying the space while we're using the phone app. But I have the volume pretty loud. I hope tell me if there's any problem with being able to hear us, but I have it very loud. So hopefully we're recording great because the interaction is great. So Sherry Breyer said, hi, I'm here. And that she's tuning in from Carmel Getaway. So Sherry, she's tuning in on this special day. And then April Wall said, thank you, Laura. Okay, so Christi.
Hi, April, by the way.
I love April Wall and Sherry and Dusty.
We are having a great time together.
Jason Louis was here. Is probably still here. We have some people coming through and asking questions and being part of this. So please keep adding in whatever you want. I find this to be such a wonderful space. And Dusty says she can hear. Okay, we're doing it. We're getting it all good. Oh, Laura Kelchin said it's all good. Gosh, thank you, you guys, because we are working with some stuff here. What I love about you, Christi, is your smile, your heart, your generational knowingness of you believing in spirit. It doesn't come and go and fade in its ebbs and flows. That your feelers are out there, and that you truly believe in you and what you feel. That is powerful to be around. So audience, why I invited Christi here, because every time somebody comes in, you know, before they get here, there's such a process to bring somebody in, because I find this, that as the founder of the show, I truly want this to be a protective space where we feel like family. You know, to have all of us together and mingled in somewhere together. We all overlap in some form. Your spiritual space, I find that I need dearly all the time, because it's a new area. And we are learning that about me more, huh, Christi, when we did our conversation where I got to be able to have an interview with you, as I got to interview you live in our show.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And I love your years of experience. And what I appreciate is that you were out there doing your paintings, and you had them on the wall, you had them in different places. And I was like, wow, Christi. Like, to me, I felt like it was intuitive. And I almost felt like it was abstract, even though it was like a specific thing, but there was always something in there that I could read into, that I didn't think, that I thought that you were putting it in there. Like, you're like, this is how I'm feeling, because you always paint it spiritually. I could see that. But I could specifically see a trail going somewhere, a tree, a house, anything that you were doing. I fell in love with your paintings at that point. But what I love what you're doing now is you are sharing your painting and drawings at an intuitive space. I do want to add in, because I'm introducing you, but I have some things here. Dusty's saying that she loves your art. And she wants to share that she has her dog on her lap, and she's off for this week. So she's really taking good care of herself. And that's important. I'm glad you're putting this stuff in here, Dusty, because this is what Christi is about, is connecting you with what you need. Connecting you with being able to see things you may be missing, and how you can truly show up when you start playing in this area. And so, Christi, you're talking about, like, this is really like the divine space, huh?
Yeah, and when Laura was talking, especially towards the end there, it's like we are the divine in expression, and we can even look to our health issues to see where we are stuck and where we're out of alignment, because the divine through us would not feel this way. And so the good news is that we can look to our subconscious mind and all of those things she talked about. It's a major thing that I work with, the subconscious mind. And that's what the image does so well, is that it helps bring the subconscious to the surface in a way that we can look at it and see what's going on when we didn't realize it. Like she said, there was no awareness that these were the things that were at the core, but where we can look at it and really get a sense of, oh, that's the belief that led this. Because I will guarantee you that our thought through our emotion, whether it's our passion or our discontent, causes us to move into action, and that action produces our result. So that means that if we have, through our emotion, maybe a lack of self-love because we were treated poorly, and then we move into action, and that's the eating of the food and putting it in our bodies that's not good for us, the result we get out is the sick gut. you know, and so we can look to anywhere that we are not in alignment with being the divine in expression and see our stuck places. The image is a shortcut in a sense. It's almost like looking at a crystal ball and how to access and see that.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Laura Kelchin said, Christi's artwork in the background draws me an amazing talent. It's not easy to do that. Divine is a perfect description.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
So, Christi, what are we doing today?
Well, you know, just after Laura, if you, one of the things is I would like to make sure that you have given me permissions to share. The easiest ways to make me a co-host.
Yeah, and also, should we first start off coming back and regrouping about?
We will, but I wanted to show a little video very quickly.
Okay. If share your screen, let me give that to you. Okay, so everyone, we're going into the next layer with Christi. I just shared the screen, and she's going to share a video. Is it your 5-minute video, or you're going to share? What you going to share, my friend?
This is how we are divine and perfect. I don't know what. Let's see. So can I share my screen now?
Yeah, now, yes.
Okay. Okay. Here. So this is called. Oh, this is not the one I wanted to show. Never mind. I'll have to look for it while I'm talking, okay, and we'll bring it up. But okay. So there's two things that are really up in my life right now. One is the book that I wrote that we'll talk about towards the end, and that it's launching at the end of this month. But the other thing that happened, and this was a result of the pandemic, is that I got into a place of courage, of trusting myself, and of really getting in touch with my masterpiece. One of the things that I do is I help people, especially people that don't know, they have this longing inside of them, they don't know what it is, and they would really like to discover. And it's like learning a new language, and then all of a sudden their life wakes up. And yet I didn't have anybody that could take me down that road fully. And so I took some time at the beginning of the pandemic, and I did a 3-day process working with a coach that could really create. One of the things I do well, and that she did well, and that Rhonda does well, is to create safe place. And it really requires that safe place to be able to be vulnerable enough to do that deep inner work. And so I went on this spiritual journey and emotional what's the reflection, emotional look at my life and the things that could possibly be in my way. I think we all need to do that over time, no matter how evolved or whatever we are. You know, I always say we live in a spiraling universe, and the universe never stops expanding, and neither is our nature to stop expanding. This is an expanded life that we want to live. So I've always drawn my feelings, my emotions, and I've looked to them. And I've actually, in a healing group, I did drawings during that time, because it helps me. It's almost like my way of going deeply in. And I would share them with them, but I never thought this was mine out in the world to do. And I realized the thing that was holding me back was my lack of self-confidence, my lack of courage. And so I just took the dive. And then since, pretty much at the beginning of the pandemic now, I have switched gears. I am a transformational life coach. I am an art therapist. The thing about art therapy was I would watch other people draw, and sometimes they just had so many inhibitions about drawing or this or that they couldn't get to that intuitive place. And so I see we're live.
And I'm going to, in Christi, we are continuing, everyone. We finally were able to, so we have another live video. So we have 5 people that are watching right now. You've been able to watch because I've been able to use my phone. Now we're actually live. So you'll be able to interface, you'll be able to see stuff really clean. You'll be able to put your volume up and be able to hear. So we're going to transition off the phone, what we've had to do for a couple hours. We finally got into Facebook Live. So come on over, and I'll make sure I tag you if I don't see you over with us. We're in the same group, the Fresh Inspiration Show, Mindset Transformation. Go up and refresh, and you'll be able to see that we're live, and it says second video. So I'm closing off this one. And Christi, I've been recording this whole thing, so we're going to have a clean version also. So here we go in transition. I'm going to end this, but we have another live video right in the Fresh Inspiration Show, Mindset Transformation. Thank you for helping us deal with the technical stuff, and we'll be right over into the next phase. Oh gosh, Christi, thank you. We're already going live, so please keep sharing, my friend. I wanted to make sure we've got everybody transitioned.
Yeah, well, I think this is a good time. I'll go ahead and show, especially because people will be able to see it. I do now have the correct video up. And what's really fun is my son is at home because of the pandemic. He's just turned 23 on Monday. He's in visual digital arts. He's in filmmaking, and he's been helping me with my videos. So he helped me make this video because it's sometimes very hard to explain people this idea that we are divinely perfect. So here, I'm going to go ahead and share this with you, and as people are transitioning over. Okay, I'm going to have to speak it because the volume is off. So we are perfect as we come into this world. We are divine no matter what we come into the world with. This is what we were meant to come into and what our purpose is in life. But as we go along and we come into the world, we start listening to people around us. We start listening to the things that people tell us. And even though we are whole, we start believing something different about ourselves. There's going to be a little action taking place here. Hold on, go on. Okay, we start seeing that part of ourselves is imperfect and incomplete. It may have been what the teachers told us when we were coloring outside of the lines, or that we were going out of bounds in the playground, or it could be when we get older and then we get teased by the other kids. Oh my gosh, getting through school is, like one of the challenges. Maybe one of the good things about this pandemic is there can't be as much bullying, right? And then going into our teen years, with those hormones that rage, and we just get deep and dark and say, oh, life just really sucks. And we start believing what other people tell us. We're not acting correctly. We're not following the norms, and then, oh, you should be a doctor, or you should be this, or all of the various things that people tell us about who we should be. And then the media, can I go on next one? The media comes in and tells us who and what we should be. I mean, the status quo thinking. And all of a sudden, when we start looking into the mirror, we see this. And we don't see ourselves as whole anymore. We don't see ourselves as complete. But all the time, the truth is we are. And so the work that I do with people is I help them come back to filling the holes, the gaps. I help them discover the subconscious beliefs that are inside that keep them from thriving, from being creative, from experiencing joy in life, by helping them see these erroneous thoughts that are really not true about ourselves, so that we can return to the wholeness of who we are. Because we were made in the image and likeness of the divine. It is what we are here to do, is to be that wholeness. And so this work that I do is about helping people come back into that awareness.
I love it.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I'm really breathing it in. I love that you and also you had technical difficulties too. It's very interesting how we're working through this. I love it.
Well, I got to speak it instead of talk. So
exactly.
Yeah.
You know what? I love the feeling of that nothing's wrong. Mm-hmm. That safety. I noticed this year that my my word for me is safety, meaning that with all the experiences we've had in life, bringing that into, you know, what we're learning on Mother Earth here, and also being able to bring that spirit and knowing that this, when I get to talk to you, I get to hear how we're in, like, whatever is happening is the divine space, which to me goes straight into acceptance. And the fight around, you know, oh, but it used to be this way, this is the way I want it, and things like that. It's like, I know that that's like a natural feeling. So at first, I can go through that space because I'm not feeling judged. But the reminder of, oh, take a deep breath, see what's around you, see what's going to be happening in the next layer, but also keep taking care of yourself, because you're not going down. You're right here. You're being nurtured. That's how I feel. When you start sharing those things, it amazes me on so many levels, when I could be sitting in fear all the time. Because when I first wake up in the morning, I've really learned a lot about this, that I was showing up scared more than anything else, instead of what I get to learn to do, which is, you're right, I get to make a choice because it feels logical to me. Like, oh no, this is the divine space. So is that where you wanted to go, is our discussion?
Yeah, so well, first I'm going to share my experience of doing this, and it kind of ties in with Laura, what she did. So in this three-day series, I really got in touch because I had a lot of gut pain going on and things like that, and so I was able to, through my drawing, and you'll see I'll do this process with Rhonda when we go into the next one, but I took a portion of the drawing that I had done one day, and it was in my gut area, and I redrew that larger and was able to look at and see how what was going on and what was affecting me. So this is, I can lower this a little bit because the page is the right direction. So this was my gut. This was what was going on in my gut. And it was right over there, and it was like this crunchy, gnarly animal, right? But when I started looking at it, and there's words on here, and I can't even read them completely, but they were my story. They were the things that were coming out. This one says, all the times I wanted and believed I was bad, the something, you know, about that idea of growing up believing I was bad. And then down here it says something about I'm swallowing my truth. And so it's like I'm not even showing up authentically. There's the swallowing of the truth. And this one down here says, I don't know how to feed myself. And this is probably one of the key ones I'm still working on, because my mother didn't cook. My dad did most of the cooking, and even still it was, you know, we didn't have a lot of money. And so, you know, food was almost this desperation. I would come home from school at you know, as a latchkey kid, my younger brother and I, and you know, at 8 years old, I would come home and I would be starving, and I would climb up on the kitchen cabinet and I would open the cupboards and just try to find concoctions that I could make that would feed me, you know. And it's like, I don't know how to feed me. And so I'm working now, I know to bring that to the surface. And it's so interesting how it plays in my life. There's the whole big, but there's all of these things. And so then I'm going to share. So Rhonda and I had a session, and it was on Facebook Live, and I'm doing some live demos with people to help other people see that this work can be really powerful in unlocking things that are going on that you don't have the words to, that you don't know, and that you can take something like, oh, this is in my gut, and you can take it to somebody like Laura, or like my chiropractor, who also does, you know, food testing and things like that, and she actually discovered I had a virus in my gut, you know, and every time I'd go to the doctor, like she said, and get this tested, there was nothing there, right? Supposedly,
Mhm.
there was nothing there. And so I knew there was something there. And I was able to go to my chiropractor and say, help me find this. And it's like, the change is immense of just being able to do this. So what I do, and we're going to lead into, I did a session with Rhonda, and what I do is I just actually, as I'm kind of coaching people, I listen and I'm drawing. So sometimes I'm not looking at people, but this screen will not be on when I'm doing that, because I want them not to be paying attention to that. I want to do a little piece of the coaching. But what the second sessions that I do, and that's like what I'm going to do with Rhonda here, is let me change my screen back, is that we go into the original drawing, because in that it's just like a map. There's so much amazing information in there. But even the second time, so Rhonda, what I'm going to do with you is I'm going to show you the image, and then I'm going to show you the evolution of the image, and you have the opportunity of just being in the feeling tone of what are you feeling, what are you sensing, what are you seeing. And I am going to be able to bring that up onto the screen. So this is the first image that I did as I was speaking to Rhonda.
I'm glad you're sharing because I was ready to share it too, but you're on board. Thanks, Mom.
I love Zoom. I love,
I
yeah,
know it's
yeah.
a great way.
Okay, I want you to tune into this, and I want you, oh no, this is actually the second one, isn't it? No, you're seeing the first one. You're seeing this one. Yeah. And you talked about confidence, and you talked about that idea of who am I to think that I can do whatever it is. And just tune into that right now. And are there any feelings or senses of this as
Yeah,
you look?
coming back to it, because I've been looking at this. The confidence that came to me was before I knew it was a crown. And I started seeing that that feeling of that I've been focusing and learning more about listening and trusting my divine space. I come from in the background of being very exterior, only knowing what I can see, and that was my truth. Now I'm on this new journey of even building through like what I want to get done for the day. And I'm an extremely active, getting a lot of things done, multitasking. But it's the other layer that we're talking about, which I'm learning, is to trust that what I'm feeling is how I get to accomplish and finish my tasks, by knowing who to connect with, knowing what's the next step that's going to keep me in flow so I don't get exhausted. What do I need to do for food? Because as a health coach, I can go in and look at my organs and see where I'm at, but there's another layer there now that you're helping me acknowledge, that it gives me like this step in, which I didn't know that I wasn't doing. I just thought, oh, I can see a lot of things now. And letting that organically happen, what you did is you jumped me forward. And what I thought, with the confidence that was showing up, was that now I get to layer in, okay, I know what foods I want to eat because I can feel it, but am I really fully feeling it? Take a step back, really believe in your divine space about food and what's going to take care of you today. When I do that, my work gets accomplished in a way. By the time it's time for me to exit out of my office, it could be 4 hours to 12 hours that day, that I feel this flow. And you've been able to, since our last session, help me logically take a step back and get the logic out of it and let the flow happen. Because I know how to work logically, but let the flow happen.
So thank you. This is the evolution. So I want you to be again in the feeling tone of that and see where it feels like things are evolving, and anything you notice about this.
I think people automatically will see that I have long hair, and that long hair means that that's a picture of me. What I see that long hair is connected around my ears. So for me, when I look at it, it's me being able to stay open and be able to hear and feel what somebody's actually saying. And I'm growing that, so the confidence connects with that.
Look at these jewels. Look at these jewels up here.
Like to me, and again, because I keep seeing that word, so I know that those jewels are there, but there's more to enjoy. There's these nuggets that are all different layers of the top chakra that as I get to scrumptiously open up to being, that these beautiful colors, purple, the blue, the white, and even I see the shades of like, one can be white, but it transitions into another color. So I feel like I'm in transition. And I know that I always will be, because I know that's our life's gift, is always consistently learning. But right here, it's telling me, for me, what I see is I'm moving quickly based on being able to be aware and you holding me in this space. I mean, I truly feel there's a partnership of what you're doing. And so I want to talk a little bit more about that, because I love the playfulness of that top divine space, that chakra, is that it's like, at last time we talked, to me, that was flurry. Like, okay, I'm going here, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But now what it's doing for me, now that I see this for today, is playfulness. I see the gold and the white, like that's like celebration. And that gold is a color of the Fresh Inspiration show. And so when I saw the heart, I see that the what I'm doing is bringing me deeper in to full alignment. That this is where I'm going to be hunkering in and expanding, and that it's, I got this. I got this. So the confidence is going in there, the trust. Christi, on the right side.
Exactly. Exactly.
But come on, my friend.
Go ahead. This emerged out here. Yes,
Yeah.
this right here.
Yeah.
This is very exciting. And so this was the thing, and I was hoping you would discover that too. So in amongst all of this beauty and wonderfulness, the really cool thing about this is that we can look in it to see the stuck places. And this container, in my feeling tone, and you have to see if you resonate with this, is holding some of the stuck places for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I started doing was I started, because I was attracted to that as well, is I started drawing that container. And that's what I'll do in a second session, or alternative sessions, is we will look at where are you stuck. And I don't know, I don't have your answers, but I do have a drawing that's starting to emerge from that. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this. I'm going to come back to my camera, and this is right here. This is the container.
I see.
So can you see up close? Can you see what's going on for you when you look at this?
Mm-hmm. On the bottom left,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be on vacation, and I'm telling myself I'm going to go on vacation, and I'm not doing it. And that is a palm tree to me, speaking to me that I am not in full flow of what I know my needs are, which is getting away. And I feel like every time our family gets away, that it saves my life.
Mm-hmm. And that was really clear, that it's like the R&R, the caring for yourself stuff. Yeah,
Christi, because I can do the day-to-day. I mean, I know how to do the adrenal resets or whatever comes up. So, I mean, I know how to manage my day, but I am going to, from this, I can see the divine spaces. I'm going to be growing them. And if I don't, that's a stuck container is what you were saying. I can feel that.
And it's playful.
Oh, well, I love being playful.
Yes, I know. It's like, what is it like to be on and regardless if it ends up that you go to the mountains or this or that, we have the water, we have the playfulness of this.
And you know what, Christy? I'm looking at her comments here, and Dusty said that she is loving the visual. And this is what I find is the most powerful space of hanging out with Christy right now, is that you are seeing something that you can just so be able to understand what you're drawing. It's so easy.
You the client can understand, because I didn't know what was in here. I didn't know what this was. And actually the next component of this, I want to go and visit some of these other areas, but these are still kind of like, here we can take a dive into this real deep void. And I wouldn't do that on a live demo like this, but the inside of here are some even deeper things of where you're stuck. This vessel here is holding it. And one of the things I want to say about our paradigms, about the places that we are stuck, is that we don't want to get rid of them, because they really are here to tell and to teach us something. It is here, this one is here to say to you, Rhonda, get moving, get to that self-care, get to that vacation. You do such a lovely job of hanging out with your kids. It's like, does this mean by yourself? Does this mean taking your family? You get to resonate with it. So what do you see in these two areas? And maybe even, let's just stay a little bit surface, because this can take you very, very deep. But
yeah, and I love being vulnerable. I don't mind.
You are. I know you are so good at it. Yeah.
So, but Dusty did add, and this is where I was going with this too, is that it looks like Oliver. So for me, I see a puppy there, and stuck. I'm gonna speak to this for what I originally see, but there may actually be another puppy in my future. I have worked with people that do the spiritual space of connecting Oliver and me. And if anybody's ever seen any of the stuff that I do, Oliver is my partner. When I'm not feeling well, he's watching over me. Anytime I do a Facebook Live, he literally is there. And I notice that people need him too, because he teaches them that eating healthy is like something you can do. So he does a lot of things. So this puppy to me is, I think that there is actually another spirit out there that is in my calling, because I understand what Oliver is doing for me and connecting and helping me, and I'm helping him too. And so we're partners. This other doggy, this seems to me a new spirit, that I'm stopping a new spirit from coming in. And I want to add on to that, Christy, that I feel like my partner, Jeff, my hubby, he can, and I never told him this, but he is like a person that he's so sensitive, like he can feel things, and he doesn't know this yet. So if he's on Facebook Live, you're out, baby. So I feel like he's been wanting to bring in another spirit into our family, and it would be a puppy. And I've been holding back because of the exterior reasons.
Yeah, it's a hard time. We brought Ruby into our lives during this time and the socialization, but you've got another dog, so that's different. But she just goes absolutely nuts when she sees people, because she hasn't been raised around people. But what is this spirit? What's the energy of this spirit that you're stuck with, so that you can truly open? I see these little swirlies. These are kind of curious to me. What would that represent for you?
Probably spinning. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, to receiving. Another spirit to come into our household. So I go back to the heart sense, when the original picture that you drew. And that swirling can, I feel, directly be a part of my next layer of staying off of medicine. Because if I keep my heart open, I feel safe and I know that my journey is going to keep getting stronger and better. So this is a space of healing for me in my container.
And this little possible entity that's either there spiritually, because you know we can have our power animals, or into your life physically. The love is the heart space. This all, and this is one of the things that happens during the drawing, is the transformation can take place right here. And there is the heart space, and you can do this in your meditation, and you can imagine this dog energy, which, you know, dogs are loyalty. In the medicine cards, dogs are loyalty. And it's like, you know, what do you need by your side to love yourself more, to have greater courage to bring yourself into this?
Mm-hmm.
So you can do that in a meditation, and you can, like, you're so intuitive, like you were with my Jasper, and you can, you know, go find this spirit that's also looking for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But go on vacation first.
Okay. Okay. Well, because you know, when you bring a puppy, Christy, thank you. Now my spirit guide, see, now you reminded me about this. Yeah, I believe my first thing is that I do have some tickets available for me to go and do a vacation. I need to go do that.
And I traveled during this time. So I went to the Southwest, and we stayed in hotels. We rented a car. We felt completely safe. We felt everybody was doing their part, wearing their masks, things like that, that I felt completely safe. Of course, I carry an aura of safeness with me, you know, but it's not a horrible time. You just have to be cautious. You have to be aware. You have to be your strength of integrity, almost, you know, of bringing that into the world.
You know, because Dusty brings up that she has 3 dogs and 2 on her lap and 1 dog in bed. The thing is that we've had multiple dogs, and we lost them both within a couple of months, and they were kind of some years apart from each other. But I know that our Oliver, not Oliver, but Kuma really relied on Spencer as his guide. That was one of the things that was very difficult when, I love this. That was one of the hardest things for when Kuma was on his own, that I became his guide.
Mm.
Like any move I made, he could barely see, because all of a sudden, you know, everything was kind of taken over when Spencer passed on. But he would just look at me. And so with the second doggy coming in, what it'll do is, first, that I so have to put faith in Jeff, my husband. And I do. I actually, and I keep telling him, I've told him a couple times, like, you are very insightful. So the trust within that too. You know, I really feel he's my spiritual partner. And thinking about having a new dog in our life seems something that I was holding off on. But I know that any spiritual being in our house that I can see, because sometimes there's some people I do coach that tell me there's other spirits around, that I don't have that gift. I don't see that. But as I bring this new puppy in, that I know that there's going to be some type of partnering. And I believe that Oliver needs it too. Oliver needs that energy of, you know, the energy being that just, you know, comes and plays with him. And that's what it is. That's all it is. So I love that. Thanks for that breakthrough, Christi.
Yeah. Well, I do want to share with you about my book before I go on. And so
transition, and then we'll smoothly go into your book, because I was crying, so I want to make sure that we transition the audience.
Well, yeah, I'll just give you a little final look, a few little, oops, wrong thing. A few things are emerging, and what I will do with oops, with Rhonda is that I will, we'll finish this up. This is just, it's a, I do hour sessions with people, and I have you can do this individually. I have a one-time individual offering on my website right now, and a 4-pack, which I really love offering. And I'm offering a one-time purchase of a 4-pack of sessions at a really discounted price. So if you want to go to my website, masteringtheartoflife.com, and you can see it up there, Intuitive Wisdom Drawings. And right now there is that offer going on.
And Christi, I put that, but make sure you come in this group and you make sure that I did that right. You'll want to connect with this community. But does audience, do you feel that like the breakthroughs that you have, like the first one was something I could handle? Like I didn't have a cry session. What I really did is like, I felt this release. That was like, I know everybody has their personal process through this, but I felt this release. Like, oh my gosh, Christi, you're giving me more insight. And then to have, because how many packages? You have a 4 in your package?
4-pack, yeah.
Yeah, so do you see that? So then what you saw now is that Christi got to the swirl. To me, that was my spleen.
Oh,
like that's where I could feel that's where I'm like,
oh, nice, yeah.
To energetically and also feel that, to make sure I'm in alignment with my food, is that spleen is going to slowly get released as I really step into my gifts. And I know that's where I've been stuck in my next layer of staying off of medicine. And I truly mean staying off of medicine.
I wouldn't have known that because I don't have that context. And that's what I love about this work is I don't have your answers for you. I have the intuition to guide you through this process and be able to help you find yours. I want to show you one more thing on this little drawing here. Is inside of this spleen now that we know about, there's 3 little critters here that are emerging. I can hold it up a little bit.
Laura's like, oh, I see that.
So
I see those popping out, Rhonda.
Yeah. So Laura can help to say, I don't know what this is, and we could explore it, and we can offline and so forth. But those things just kind of happen, and I know that it's my gift to be able to tap into that, number one, but then also to help you find your intuition within this drawing as well.
Fabulous, my friend. So you see how the 4-packet with Christi, how it layers in?
Yeah, the thing about the 4-pack, which I really love, is I actually start with your vision, your dream, the thing that you would love to experience in your life. And so we go from that. In another session, I'll kind of help you find some stuck areas. But in the 4-pack, we start with the vision. And within the image of the vision, it also shows kind of some of the stuck areas. And so it evolves. And then it depends on the person, but very likely even at the end of that, there is a resolution for the person to a more evolved vision. Or we need to keep going and they can buy another 4-pack, but not at the wonderful discount price that I'm offering right now.
Very, very cool, my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And so with your book that you have, that you have the cover today that you're going to be able to get to share with everyone?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, so we're going to share, but also in there is where, what's the name of it, Christi, so you can say it before you reveal?
So the book is called Beyond the Box, and I love that Laura talked about some of this stuff, Beyond the Box. And the first line of my intro is like, who created the box anyway? We are living by somebody else's box. We're trying to get outside of the box. Let's just let the box go and let's create our own thinking. 90% of our thoughts are recycled. You got them from somewhere else and you bought into them, and maybe even more for most of us. And so it's like, how can you do your own thinking? And the method that I teach in the book is called Creative Thinking Expanded. And this was my MC squared that I kind of mentioned at the beginning, is it's like we think thoughts that we have never thought before. We entertain new ideas. Like, I remember one time coming home from my doctor, since we're on the health thing here, I came home from my doctor, and I went in thinking that something was wrong. And she goes, you are really good. You are really healthy. And I just went, what if I entertained that idea instead of, yeah. And that's a new thought. And nobody told me, nobody gave it to me, nobody said I could think it, right? And it's like, what are thoughts that you can think of? I was giving examples yesterday on this talk I was doing. It's like, what if you missed the exit? And what if that's a good thing? What if you lost your job? And that's a good thing. I mean, how can we turn what's going on in our lives and make it into our own thinking process? And then we exponentiate that by adding, and that's the expanded part, understand the universal principles. And Laura was talking about one, and it just reminded me of one of my favorite laws, which is the law of sacrifice, because I love it, because people, I don't want to sacrifice. But what the law of sacrifice is letting go of the lesser to experience the greater. And once you have passion enough, remember I said the thought through the emotion, but when you have passion enough to move forward, then your actions reveal that, and that's your result. So when you have the passion enough now for this whatever it is, and say wellness, we'll just keep on that theme, right? And now you look at, what do I need to let go of? So one of the things that also happened during this pandemic is I gave up eating bread. And I gave up, even though I'm gluten-free, right? They came out with all these gluten-free options, right? So I was like, chow, potatoes, things that were high starch. I just gave them up. I love potatoes. I had a boyfriend who called me Tater Girl because I love potatoes so much, right? Before I was married 30 something years ago. But because I have this sense of wanting to experience the wellness here, I can say, oh, I'm willing to let go of the lesser. And we can do that with our friends, with our jobs. Was it somebody on the chat there said that she'd been in this job that she hated for 12 years. It's like, let that go. And then one of the other things that we really want to be conscious of, and I help people with, is creating remedy thoughts. Like, what is the replacement thought that you want to have in place of that? So mine coming out of the doctor's office was like, well, what if I really am well, and yeah. So that's one of the key. So my book is called Beyond the Box, Creative Thinking Expanded. I had done a workbook first called The Creative Way in 5 minutes a day. And it's a drawing meditation, actually, that my clients do. But the book was based on, and now this book, Beyond the Box, is based on the 12 of the elements and principles of art to express the principles of life. And that was a way to access people in a different way. And so every week I give a tool, every chapter I give a tool and a universal principle to help people really move through their lives. And it's a journey. It starts with designing your life, and then critiquing what's in the way, that's the stuck parts, right? And then creating that life of your dreams. And it's just such an exciting job to have, to help people, really begin discovering themselves. Yeah.
I love it. And Laura, I definitely want to come in and talk about her time with us, watching you, Christi, do all your spectacular work. Did you want to share what the cover looks like?
Do I want to share her drawings?
No, did you want to share? Do you have a cover, or
of the book? Okay, yes. So what happened? So I have a Facebook page called Beyond the Box, the book, I think it's called, and in there I posted up all these different book covers, and I let people, give their input and do a voting and things like that. And I have not revealed to them, and so I invited them to this call. I don't know if anybody's on here yet from that, but I am revealing now. The book has gone to the publisher. The cover has gone to the publisher, and this is the revealing of the Beyond the book cover.
Oh.
beyond the box.
I love that. Oh my gosh. I love all the colors coming right out of that.
Well, color is passion, you know, and I say, you know, take
Mm.
things into the passion, you know, it's like let's give our life color. Let's, be vibrant and even during COVID, you can
Yes.
do this.
Well,
Just
thank you
know
for
the
reminding me
divine's
of that.
got your back.
Laura, unmute yourself. Share with your experience. We can keep this cover up while we're talking. That is so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. I also, I mean, I love bright colors.
Yes.
And so, I've received a little bit of coaching to like choose a couple of colors that you're always in because that's brand alignment. And I'm like, you know what? My brand alignment is that I'm in bright colors. Like whatever. I don't want to have to, and I think that's an example, Christi, of what you're talking about is like somebody else's rules. Somebody else is trying to impose this concept on me that you have to be in this or you have to do this, and that doesn't align with who and what I am. So I love the bright colors. I love bright colors in general, and just the energy and the exuberance from that. So there are some things, and I have actually, as you've been sharing, I've been writing some things down and taking notes because just some great takeaways. I love when you said that art shows us that for which we don't have words. And that's sometimes it's so hard for someone to articulate, what it is that they're feeling, what it is that they are experiencing or have experienced. So I think that art and the creative space is such a brilliant and connected way to help someone unpack that subconscious programming. So I love that you shared that. And then just some things that kept coming to mind are like, we become what we think about, you get what you focus on. And so
That's one of the chapters.
oh, awesome. Yeah. So choosing to think about things that are excellent and things that are praiseworthy and things that are pure and uplifting, and, choosing that I think is really powerful, especially in that first picture of Rhonda, who am I to think that I could be or do, fill in the blank. And it's like we become the thoughts that we entertain. One of my favorite, as if people just have favorite neuroscientists, but one of my favorite neuroscientists is Dr. Carolyn Leaf. And she talks about how what we think about actually shapes the physical protein structure of our brains. So I thought that was really, really powerful. And then you said something about, reframing the things that are happening. And what came to mind was thinking about what has happened for me, not what has happened to me. And just that shift of how can I choose to experience this or remember, fill in the blank experience, to see it as part of my growth journey that is ultimately for my good, even if it's stressful or unpleasant or, any of those things. And then
Can I pause you there just for a second? Because you said something in your talk too that relates exactly to that. It's like being a victim to something outside of yourself.
Yes.
You have no power. But
Right.
when you give up blame, and this is in my book too, in fact, it's presented by Dr. Michael Beckwith, if anybody knows who that is. And if you give up blame, then you take self-responsibility, and that's where you can make action. That was one of the things I loved about what you said too.
Yeah, thank you. For sure, taking responsibility is, I think, a really critical part of healing. Even if you had no control over the circumstance or something happened that you would have preferred otherwise, I still have power over my response and what I do with that experience. So absolutely. And then lastly, my master's degree is education. So one of my spiritual giftings is in teaching and educating. And we learned about how people learn. And what I thought of were my students who are the doodlers.
Yes.
And the narrative that we apply to the way that people learn. And we apply this. So I'm a clarity coach. And so the underpinning of the philosophy of a company called Talentism, for which I'm an executive clarity coach, they call it the BSL narrative, the bad, stupid, lazy narrative, that if something is different from what you think it should be, you apply this narrative to it. And how often do we have people that learn in a different way from us that we call them bad? And when you shared, and when you showed that picture of the feeling of your gut, like as someone who is a gut health expert, I really connected with what you were showing and the words that you were sharing as part of that. And it made me think of that when you said, like, these are the things that people have told me were bad. And I feel like what you're doing is an expression of almost like standing up for the ways that different people express themselves, the ways that people learn about themselves, the ways that people experience new information. And that's just what it made me think of, is that BSL narrative that, like, as an educator, I was very sensitive to my doodlers and sensitive to the people who are my auditory learners, but they're maybe not visual learners, and my kinesthetic learners who are maybe not auditory learners, and providing and presenting information in a way that all of those different types of learners can receive it without applying a narrative to them that any of them are bad because they learn in the different ways. Yeah. And so often we see that in society. I mean, my son is left-handed. He had a teacher who tried to make him right-handed because she didn't want him to be left-handed. And I was like, there's nothing wrong with being left. I think it's fantastic to be left-handed. You let him be left-handed. So that was what came to mind. I mean, I know that was like a list of takeaways, but
Yay, thank you.
Yeah, I enjoyed what you shared. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Christi, Laura. Yeah, this is so cool.
I do want to, can I speak one more thing to the idea of circumstances? And actually, I'm going to do my little quick screen share here because I had pulled this up. This is really a way to understand circumstances. This is an illustration. It's from my book. And what it talks about is that this horizontal, this vertical axis here, the one that never changes, is truth. And what changes is our conditions, our circumstances, our status quo thinking, our money. And how we change that is by focusing on understanding universal principles, so we solve our problems, our facts, at the level of truth. And you can learn more about that in my book, or with me, or with, even it sounds like with Laura, with Rhonda, of course. Yeah, but it's like circumstances are changeable. And only changeable, though, when you take responsibility for them. If you blame it on somebody else. I tell a story all the time about when my son backed out of the driveway and I heard this crash and he was in my car. And he comes running in, "How dare they park in front of our house?" It's like, and it's like, we did a turnaround process that I offer. And he goes, "Oh, I can learn from this," and it was like, a whole different. Then he took care of business. He wouldn't have taken care of business in the right way. Think if he would have gone out after that person that parked it. "How dare you park in front of our house?" Very different than.
I know, and starting a fight with that instead, you're like,
Yeah.
I've heard that story before, Christi, but do you want to finish that story though? There's a component there that's actually very a good learning lesson of how you approach your coaching.
Yeah, so what I use that story to illustrate is I actually use a thermostat, and I asked him to see if he was willing to change his thinking, because like Einstein said, we can't solve a problem at the level of our thought. And so I asked him, my thermostat, of course, goes from 0 to 100. I asked him what was his level of his thinking, and he said -20, right? And so I said, okay, what are you willing? So I don't say what's the solution. I don't say what can you think of? Because we're still hanging out there in that minus 20%, right? So I said, what are you willing to go up to? And he said 40, and I'm always shooting for 60 or 80, but I went 40, that's good enough. And so I said, now, and to move into that, sometimes it's gratitude. He had enough practice of doing this process that he could move himself. And of course, first he looked to me for the answer. I'm like, I don't have your answers. And then he hooed and hummed. And then all of a sudden he says, oh, I know, I can learn from my experiences. Now have a 16-year-old say that and see that when they were just in the victim blame arena. And so to be able to just stop, that's why I kind of like the so thing. The so is that, it's like we can pause and then redirect our thinking. And I have lots of tools for that. I also have tangible tools on my website and things like that. So I just love serving people. And I'm creative, so I come up with all kinds of ideas and I put them into manifestation. I make them happen. So
we have 3 ladies here, and we all do these wonderful, incredible things. I love how in the show we get to be in this family style. And audience, I hope you feel that, participants today. This is something that I think is so serving at this time, that no matter what specialty of something you do, there's so many more people out there that can help and partner with you. So keep seeking the things in your emotional journey. If you're a health coach, keep seeking other health coaches to be able to partner and layer in, because an expertise is what it is. It gives us the full rounded picture of what we see individually. But oh my gosh, when you see another health coach like Laura McKenna talking today and about the process that she does, I see partnering. And sometimes when we bring people on the show, the old mindset can come in. I think this is such a divine feminine model that we're doing here at the Fresh Inspiration Show. And it truly is the future of business, and pulling the ego out and knowing that I want to love on everything Laura does. I want to love on everything Christi does. I know some spiritual beings come to me because they want to have that spiritual space along with food. And there's some combination that I can even feel their body and what is being created there. And I can even feel how their nervous system is doing, even though we're on Zoom. So there's ways that I do that. So Christi for me is, I keep going back to Christi and learning about me. So do you see how that works? Like looking at our neighbors, looking at our friends, look at the people that are serving us is what I'm about. There is no more competition out there. Gosh, so if I could just walk that out the door, so maybe we can just do a, hiya! I didn't want to kick the desk. A karate chop, your new vision. So what we did today, this is the 7th show that we've done since the coronavirus has shifted things in the way that we knew, is that this is our opportunity and our rebirth. Thank you, Christi Corradi, for discussing the light on this, to be able to bring in the divine space, and Laura McKenna coming in as a partner with me as a health coach, to be able to bring all that together family style. I got the chills. We can't go on life anymore where we think we're solo, that we do this alone. And so for Dusty to be here, for Sherry to be here, for, oh my gosh, so many names that have come through today and have been here. We are all in together, hugging and holding and protecting each other. So the more that I'm learning about myself, what Christi brought up about my heart and about it growing, is that I know that if I keep growing that space and growing, because I have to be aware this is new, probably 10 years worth of finally saying, oh, my heart, people pass away in my family of heart attacks. And when I get really upset, not anymore, actually, by the way, I'm mad, and I could feel it here and I could feel it here. And all of a sudden, my journey of taking medicine transitioned from, is it really my thyroid that is really acting up, or is my thyroid exhausted? Exhausted from trying to take care of me, my brain, where I'm stuck, where I'm blaming everybody, where I feel like there's nothing else but exactly what I can see, instead of what Christi pulled up for me, even more, take a step back. Spiritually think what you may not be seeing. And this is where your liver gets tired, because this is your liver meridian, or your eyes. So if I'm overusing my eyes, I'm really working hard with my liver, the right side here. And I'm overworking it because I'm looking to see, and I need those glasses. Now I can't see very well, and then fear steps in. But what if I take a step back and I start looking at what we're doing here today and the partnership that I get to be in? Will you please come along? Is this your divine space now to be able to awaken, and definitely checking out what Christi is doing? Because there's probably some nuggets that you are slightly aware of or not aware of at all that Christi could bring to life. It's your time to be with somebody like Laura McKenna that you want to know more, and you are in alignment that I need to know specifically what's going on. I don't have a diagnosis. It makes me feel uncomfortable. If I go to Laura, she's going to be able to do these tests for me. I know that I need that. And you start seeing that you don't just have one coach, that you're opening your space to community. And you say yes to things because, it's not all about the money. And I'm going to talk about that today, because money is there to be had and seen. Christi talked about special gifts. Laura talked about special gifts. I do. I think money is water and flow, and you have to have a lot of respect for it. You got a lot of appreciation, but it's there. There's a yes there around all these things that sometimes we go and look at the bank and we say yes or no. But think about what I'm going to be speaking about too today is, think about if you felt really awesome. Alignment. Your belly wasn't hurting. That you were clear in the mind and you could see things. Your heart opened up. You start being able to see more money. You be able to see that the alignment of that, our health is water, is flow. Same thing with that. That's why I need to talk about that. So today I'm going to bring in my accounting space. So just so you know, I just transitioned from the host of the show to coming into you as Rhonda Liebig, energy revitalizer, mindset freedom coach, to vitality. And today I'm going to layer in the cash flow, because we have money on the table that we're missing. But we're missing it because the old model doesn't work. So let's bring in the new model. And the new model is this. If you're feeling not so good, you are feeling not so good. Don't allow yourself to think, oh, it must be up here. I'm feeling fine. Because if I go and do my tests, the doctor says I'm fine. No, take a step back. Give yourself time to breathe and start feeling. So can we go through some, like a little bit of a survey I want to do for you? So make sure that you have a yellow paper, by the way. Color. Guess what Christi and Laura were talking about? Piece of paper, a pen. Today I want to focus in on some things that get released. And ways to do this is talk about emotion. And ways to talk about this is where your body is not feeling so good. So I'm going to talk to your kidneys, and I'm going to first talk to your liver. And I want you to say yes to anything that you feel you are dealing with. And that will help me know if you are stuck in your liver area or if you're stuck in your kidney area, because energetically, emotionally, you may be showing up and it just be so displayed that there's certain foods that you need to eat right now to help the flow open. So I'm going to help you with that. I'm going to go in and also allow you the space to recognize why you might be in an angered space or why you may be in a melancholy, stressed, emotional space. And mentally, you know, there's a lot of stress going on, but that's not the only thing. So Laura McKenna was talking about sometimes there's inside stuff happening and there's outside stuff happening, but to separate that is really hard. It's just, I'm stressed. I believe that when there's something internal happening, along the same lines, that you are stuck in an area that you can use certain foods to help open that up. So I'm coming into as a food expert. So let's get to it. Now I've been doing this for about 7-8 years now. I studied for a full year in how each organ works and where the flow is. So I'm also bringing in the chakras. And I'm not going to go in deep in the chakras today, but I truly believe in the spiritual space, when you start bringing in the layers, it speaks to the full flowing system, the full flow. So let's get to know your liver. Say yes if you have any of these things going on. Have you been showing up more angered, frustrated? That would be one. Angered and frustrated is speaking to your liver, because when the bile and the liver go off, which is the connection of what the liver does and also the gallbladder, you show up very angered. So question one, are you stuck in the liver? And this would be one question, angered or frustrated. Another thing, are you feeling pains? Like, are you getting your headaches here in your temple area or right here? Any headache showing up here in the temple area or up here? That's your second question. Is there pain on the right side under your rib cage? Is there that feeling that there's some tightness and the skin feels stretched there and it doesn't feel good, and there might be a little knocking there also? That's your third question. On the outside of your body, I think of this as flow. So how the body is flowing. Have you ever had to have surgery on the outside? Not from physically doing stuff, but more, you might have had to have surgery because of that, but have you had aches and pains on the sides of your shoulders or your hips and the ankles, all on the outside of the body, pains flowing down? Maybe ingrowing toenail on your big toe. And is that just kind of comes off and on and you don't know why? So ingrowing toenails. If you have a hard time on your groin area, the insides of your leg, where it doesn't release very easily, it's easy for you to expand and grow in that space when you're eating certain foods, or or there's some pain in there right in the groin area. That's part of the liver. Do you have dry eye? Do you have dry eyes? And you replenish them quite a bit. And I know that we're dealing with fires right now if you're in the northern area, Northern California area, and also on the West Coast, there's some areas there too. But it's that your eyes really can't replenish it. And if you have other things going on with eyes, glaucoma, anything, That's a direct connection to your liver. One last area that I'm looking at is here. So if you have really strong lines, or one that's coming through here, I know you're thinking, but also you're kind of connecting with the liver, and the liver needs that flow. And so you start scrunching, and you're almost like pushing on the liver, like, help me think. And the liver is what helps open up so that you get creative. So if you get those marks right here, or you scrunch, I want to add one more in there. So another yes or no to this. You don't have to say no, just yes, so you can add them up. Is, do you have issues if you haven't been eating and you, and it's probably been maybe just 4 hours, and you come in very angry, like it's just like, oh, I'm hungry, and it gets you angry, and it's like frustrating. That would be another one. So count up what you have on the yeses for your liver. Now, what we're doing here is just years of experience of watching people be stuck. And so you never ever diagnose somebody by one thing and say, oh, I can see they have a line here. Oh, they must be stuck in that area. What happens is when you find yourself showing up this way, where you feel angered and your body's not feeling good, like I'm thinking of different things I asked you today, and you have an ingrowing toenail and your body just has like every symptom or a few of those symptoms I was talking about, it starts making a story where I can see the full system flow and changes happen. So I'm going to, when we're done, I'm going to give you an opt-in where you get to find out what foods you should be eating if you're stuck in the liver, or what foods you should be eating if you're stuck in the kidneys. And you can also get a one-on-one time with me. I'll give that as a gift today. Okay, so let's go to the kidneys. Okay, do you still have your pen and piece of paper? You didn't throw it away because you had liver stuff going on, and you're like, I'm done. You know, if you're stuck in your liver, you do that.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the liver action, right?
And I love how Dusty says, never invalidate ourselves. I know, Dusty. Isn't that incredible? You know, we just say, oh, it's because of this or that, or somebody's telling me it's all about me, you know, and I'm not really feeling sick. I love that, Dusty. Thank you. Oh, okay. So I feel weepy. This would be one of the signs. Let's talk about kidneys. I feel weepy. Frustrated. Not frustrated. Frustrated. So that'd be one of your questions. Are you thirsty? Quite a bit. You're thirsty. You can't seem to get enough water. Boy, I can't seem to get enough water. I drink tons of water. Why can't my body absorb the water? Like, what am I'm going pee, like, or I'm not going pee. Okay, so I just threw something in there, so I didn't mean to. So the first thing was, are you feeling weepy or like melancholy or ho-hum? Next thing was that you're thirsty. And this is if you're drinking water, but you still can't seem to quench it. Look on your tongue, and on the back side of your tongue, if there's like little nodules or a little bit of muckety muck, little white back there, to me that would be a sign that your kidneys are stuck. That's your kidney flow. So your fourth question is, do you have hard of hearing sometimes? You know, it comes and goes, ebbs and flows. Your water system needs to be taken care of, and the kidneys nurture the blood. And when the kidneys are off, the water's gonna flow in different pockets of your sinuses and your ears, and you're gonna have some issues. Also, do you have spasms in the back of your legs, all the way up through your back? Any of those spots? So first question is, do you have spasms in the back of your legs ever showing up? Charlie horse, tightness, not very good movement, that kind of space. Now let's go to the ankle. At the ankle, it feels weird to move the ankle. The ankle's really tight. It's hard to walk sometimes unless you really warm up. That you have headaches, and the headaches seem to be around right in the back side of the head. Right in the back side of the head, just get you. Get you. And the last one that I want to throw in there, so we're even on the questions, is that the flow on your eyebrows, on the outside here, this is thyroid actually specifically when you talk holistically, but there's a lot of connection with your kidneys, because I like to partner with all the organs when I'm talking only two specific organs. So if you're pretty light in your brows on the outside here, that would be another sign that your kidneys are off. So those are the questions. So you look at how many yeses you have, and that's going to be your kidneys. Now, which one do you have the most yeses on? This is the ability that your body is able to excrete things out of your body. So now if you have an issue with the flow in your kidneys, you're going to have some bladder stuff going on. You're going to have that pee urgency. It's going to feel like that your body's retaining water, but it's not able to release it. And if you have the liver stuff, the liver is what keeps the endocrine system, the whole hormone system, the chakra system in alignment. That's why we're really focusing in on those two areas, because it speaks to so much of your body. And you see, that's how you get to see the full flow of the system and how you can start healing with food. So what I want you to do, okay, so Dusty, yeah, I see Dusty. Dusty, you said kidneys. Okay, so with this, you can get specific foods that your top 10, top 20, if you go to, I'll give you a link after we're done. But let me share with you real quick, because I want to make sure that I take care of you in this space, and then we're gonna flow with this after this. The thing is that when you have food that has wonderful flow of water in it, speaking to your kidneys right now, I want you to scrumptiously eat that if you're stuck. Apple. You want to, and this is also a thing where you want to be able to hold this food and make sure it feels good. So now we're bringing it that intuition sense. Now, if you decide to do a session with me, we'll talk about that, because it's almost like a muscle testing of the food. Because I want to make sure that your body's ready to receive it also. So there's a process there. But on the exterior, let me kind of give you an idea of how you work with food. So if you're off on the kidneys, because you found some spots there that you said, here, wait, I have more kidney stuff going on. We're still talking in the wellness sense. Not that your doctor said anything about that, anything is wrong. Let's go on that wellness side. I want you to have cucumber, because cucumber is a fruit because it has seed, but it has the water, the soft fiber and texture that your kidneys need. You know how you may be showing up kind of, oh man, I just feel so sad. That kind of feeling, how I came in today. I'm like, my kidneys are speaking to me. When you put that soft fiber in your body, oh, it's so divine, because what it'll do is it'll help open up the space so that you feel you can breathe and relax and not feel so sad. It'll open it up. So with the emotions. Apple, like I said, apple's wonderful. It has 2 different types of fibers, by the way. So it helps open up the digestion so you can absorb better. So it's a tool you can use, but it also has the other fiber in there that helps roll into your digestion. So it starts collecting the cholesterol, and then you can start excreting it out through, yes, your bowel movements. So on the exterior, this is what I'm sharing with you. These are the foods you can have, but there's another process to make sure that your body is ready to receive it. Like what Christi saw, the little critters hanging out of my spleen area. She was looking at that stuff. The other thing is, if you found yourself stuck in the liver, this is where you're going to want to have cold food, a little bit more cold food than usual. It really speaks to the fact that your body probably gets hot pretty easily, you know, like the angered temperament feeling. I need more fiber in there. So like if you like kale, you don't have to do kale if you don't like kale, but it's something that has a nice strong texture like that Swiss chard, something that you can do. This is when you can do the shakes. This is when your body is nurturing and needs it. Do you want to go some cold foods? You want to go with raw foods? Great for fresh enzymes. And the list goes on. So you see how this kind of play with food, but there's also another layer of there. But Christi has been talking to me about opening that divine space, about nurturing that. So with the one-on-one, you'd be able to learn how to nurture that, to know that that's what your body can absorb right now. Now, the fun thing is that let's talk about once your body starts opening up. So take a deep breath in and bring yourself up with the breath or standing, but I want you to give yourself space just to do a little twist here. Let's do a reset. We're almost finishing the Fresh Inspiration Show, and I want to make sure that you got everything you needed, like everything. Like you came right here today and you said, this is all my time. And I can't believe I spent all this time because I got all this good stuff. And guess what? I got another fresh yellow piece of paper. I brought a few just in case I wanted to throw another one. But on this, I want you to write some ahas that you have. Maybe you never thought that the spiritual space really comes in with food. Gosh dang, can you believe that? I can't, but now I can, because 10 years ago, I did not believe any of this could happen. So write down, if you have a journal, write down your ahas. So what we're doing here is we're lifting that space for you. Now you know you got this. But you know what? We need to believe it. So I'm going to reset your energy right now. So everybody, we're going to take a nice deep breath in. And I want you just to play with this for a moment. Give me 1 minute to reset. We've had a day today. As you inhale, let it be your life, your livelihood, your energy, your flow, and all the stuff you've been learning today, let that scrumptiously be your food. Now, you may be here today because you felt not so good. So for this moment, let's bring all the gifts you got today. Let's bring in the abundance. Let's bring that white plate out so you can see all the gifts you got from Laura, McKenna, from Christi, Corradi, from Rhonda Liebig. Put it there. Bring in that spirit as if you're scrumptiously eating it. Feel the flow in your mouth. Now, anytime you exhale, let your stomach release and relax. We get stuck in that second chakra. There's so much stress going on right now. We know that's truth. Give yourself this incubator time to know that whatever you're bringing with you today after this show, that it's going to heal certain parts of your body that you thought you never could. Laura McKenna talked about knowing that she's going towards maybe potentially a cancer, and that she, through her process, learned there is no more diagnosis of something that might happen that maybe she might have lost because she thought it might be her time, and instead she questioned it. So on your white plate right now, everything that you learned, you just learned about your liver and kidneys. So as you exhale, take any stress that you had before you walked in the door today that still may be sitting there. Let it go. Shake it. Let it go. Now, if you allowed me to give you that space, there's some opportunity of open space here for you. So I want to talk to you about your money flow. but I want to do it still in the health coaching journey. Because I want to still serve your kidneys and your liver. Sometimes we can't see what's right in front of us. Have you ever had that where you had something in front of you and you needed something back there, like turn a knob to like maybe turn on the air conditioner or open up a door, and there was something right in front of you? I mean, you can see it's right in front of you, but instead of saying, oh, I see you, and you move it, it might be a chair, whatever it is, and you turn and you get your body at every angle you can just to turn on something because there's something in front of you and you're like not thinking to move it. You're thinking, I need to move this body because darn, this thing is in the way. I want you to think about the things that you're not seeing. I mean, you might be able to see them because they're right there, but can you really? These are things that once you start getting into the space of all this stuff you've been learning today, you start explicitly seeing it. You start moving things out of your way. You start believing in things because you are out of abundance in that space of believing that all I can see is what's in my bank account. That's all I have. And there's no way to look in the future because there's this wall up in front of you. So my first gift I want to give you through this process is anything that you have in front of you, shift it and move it. Take a deep breath in. What is it around that's right there in your way that you're not really seeing it, but allow me to keep taking you on this journey. And if it's right there, physically pull it away if it's something in your mind, something that's stopping you, something that's stopping you from picking up the phone and having a wonderful conversation with people. There's something stuck there in abundance. But you got to feel good before you pick up that phone. Because every time we pick up the phone, we're getting in connection with somebody. So you need that health. You need that nurturing. There's no way to run business or your lifestyle if you don't take care of that health. It's a choice. We've been talking about choices today, and there's no judgment. There's no that you have to do it this way or that way, but find out what makes you feel good. What makes you feel good? And step into that. When we first started the show today, do you remember what I said? Is that I woke up and I started thinking about these things and I said to myself, you can have anything and everything you want. I want to give that to you today. But did you hear the second thing I said? I'm scared. I'm afraid to ask for that. All of a sudden, there were a lot of things in front of me. And I realized that at that moment. So if you feel that way, oh my gosh, move it out of the way. Now that table that you have in front of you is all the money flow, your connections, your health, your water, your energy. It's time to revitalize your energy. It's time for you to know no more fear in health. No more fear in money. Whatever you want, you got this. What is that that's in front of you? When you're ready, take an exhale. When you're ready, take an inhale. Life. I'm ready to go on vacation. Christi Corradi told me. She didn't know she was telling me because that's her intuitive space. Go and see Christi Corradi if you need to. If you have some stuff that you can't see, you need her. Is this making any sense for people? For you? I got the chills. And I got some angst. And it's releasing as I get an opportunity to speak with you. This motivational space is so important. We need this every day. This is part of our health. This is part of how we live. We can't live the way that we're living right now. We can't. We know that. Turn the news off. Have conversation with people. I'm talking about your health still. Breathe in what I get the opportunity to share with you right now. Breathe it in. You got this. No more fear. Truth, yes, fear. We have fear. Abundance, I'm giving it to you on a white platter right now. Please receive it. Anytime you have health stuff, there's something in the way, something holding you back. If you have something in your system, somehow you got stuck there. Somehow you ate something, it got stuck there and it stayed there. Somehow your stress threw all your hormones off. And your menstrual cycle is off. And you have pain under your rib cage. You have all these weird headaches. And it's not making any sense at all. So come along. Your next exhale, release. Release. Can you feel that? Let yourself keep playing here. It's resolving in a big way. Right on. Thank you. Thank you, my friends. I have the chills all the way through this. Now, when I started, I gave you logics. I know it wasn't that fun, but it is, because you get to be aware of something inside you that you don't get to see unless a doctor tells you. Now, they kind of take a picture of it, you get to look at it and ooh and ah, but I wanted you to actually see inside your body. So come along, take a deep breath in. Now, are you starting to feel your chakras align, your energy align, your cash flow, water, your kidneys start opening up? Now, you didn't eat all the food I told you to, but our brain can get us there because our body wants to heal. I didn't take a pill today, but boy, do I feel like I just did, because we talked about food. The brain is so smart, and the liver, the way they work together, it's precious. Believe in yourself. I'm talking holistically, I know, but it's truth. And if you start stepping into that area of things you can't see, but you trust yourself, there's going to be so much resolution. There's money on the table for you to find. Are you ready to live a bigger life? Are you ready to grow your heart sense so that you pick up that phone? How many business owners am I coaching right now that they say, I'm afraid. I don't want to bother them. I'm concerned because if they say yes, am I really going to be able to take care of them at the level that I see? Pick up the phone. Take an inhale right now with me. Yes, yes, yes. There's cash flow. Think of it as water. Think of it as what you love. Because there's no greediness. Greediness and money, is a money mindset, is related with some of the things maybe we were raised around. When you're in the heart sense and you know you got some good stuff to give people, it's not that you blast them and you want to, all you want to talk about is yourself and, you know, like the old school way. It's like this. This is what the show is guiding with. Did you get to hear the excitement and the silliness around Laura McKenna and the stuff that she does? Did you get to hear that? Now, did Laura McKenna say, you got to buy this, or you got to buy this, you got to do this? Instead, people say, can I make an offer on this show? It's like, how dare you not? You see where your money flow is? How dare you not? You just took care of the community. How dare me close that off? Because my sense is, I say yes to quite a few people. I need to, because more will come. So make sure that you go and you really start listening. Get out of your way. Get into your abundance. Find your motivation every day. Release some of this crud that's in your body. It just sits there, just manifesting. I have one more question for you. I'll come back to you as a host. How's your body feel? How's your body feel? I mean, like, how's it feel? How's it feel? How's your body feel? Are you feeling something different? We started at 8 this morning. Laura, I'll do it for you since you're in Eastern time, 12 o'clock Eastern time. But how does your body feel? How does your body feel? Take that tool, asking, receiving, loving on yourself. Never again. We'll try and break this, but never again do any of this stuff that maybe doesn't serve your body. So the motivational that you learned today, the different avenues you can do with your health and wellness, spiritually, how you can connect. Keep saying yes, because everything is there for you. The lifestyle, the type of business you want, the people in your life. Goodness, ladies, unmute yourself. We're finishing this. We're in the last part here, but think about this. We talked about, Laura McKenna was talking about how you get into the sense of this false sense that you're supposed to be in pain every time you move and do something, because you work your butt off. And if you don't do something and you don't get that pain, then you didn't work hard enough. What about Christi Corradi? Looking at her gut health. Christi, thank you for sharing that, by the way. I mean, to expose yourself like that, I love it. I love it. But think about that. Christi opened herself up, talked about her gut, talked about things she's stuck in. What are you stuck in? What are you stuck? I want you to add messages here. I want you to be connecting. This is a safe place. This is a safe place. Keep your heart open.
You're awesome, Rhonda.
You can find me at rhondaliebig.com. You can get the energy stuff that I just asked you about your liver and your kidneys, but you will get the specific foods. But you really do need me to be able to help guide you in a way that, so you know that your food's the right food for you right now. Even though we just talked about the exterior, you did that survey, you do need to know another layer there. So you can find me through instant message. This is also going to be on podcast. This is also going to be on Roku TV. So I'll make sure in the notes all that gets there. So we're on Facebook where we go live. Make sure you find us on the Fresh Inspiration Show, Mindset Transformation Entertainment. So this is about entertainment. This is about health. This is about playing. Let's go all out and play. Now, you know I don't believe in 100%, but you know what? When it's time to dance and play, you know I got you, because that's what we need to do. We need to play. So come play. Thank you. So we have so many gifts here today, ladies. Can you share with me maybe what you got from me or just your overall day? Please share. An audience too, I'd love to hear some comments.
Well, I loved how you denoted these things that can tell you about things inside your body, like the thirst or I'm really curious about the lines. I need to stick my tongue out and see if I have nodules, but I didn't want to do it on.
Oh, I thought you might. You might be like they're being good to see your tongue.
Yeah. But no, just that that connection with your organs and things like that. It's really fascinating.
Thank you, Christi.
But just your passion, my dear, just, that you, just the way that you approach life and how much you love and care about everybody.
I'm receiving.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you. How about you, Laura? How's your day going? I know we're getting close to the end here. What you feeling, my friend?
Yeah, just really good. Um, there's admittedly a small part of me that realizes it's 3 p.m. and I ate breakfast at 7:30.
I
So,
told you to take a
so there
break.
is a little part of me that is like, how's my body feel? Well, I'm a little tense from sitting for 4 hours. I'm kind of hungry. So there's that, that's my flesh that is saying, please stand up and move around, and please go feed me something. So there is an aspect of that, but really good, Rhonda. You do your energy is so just generous and positive. And so I'm just taking that in, and it's so refreshing to see your commitment to helping people, understand themselves, and to take what is available for them. I think my favorite thing from what you shared was what's in the way. Just move it out of the way. Like, stop moving yourself to get around the obstacle. Just move the obstacle. I just loved that. So yeah, I think that was the biggest takeaway for me as I've been working through things like developing my programs for next year and putting together my pricing for my programs and deciding what I want to offer, and in like a type of coaching program, in what way. And next year I will launch retreats, as a wellness and restorative retreats for high achieving women. And so that's in the plans for next year. And I do have a little bit of stuckness around what I want for those programs and the outcomes that I'm so excited to provide for people, and the things I want to do to help people with. And so I just loved that metaphor of there's the thing in the way between you and what you want to provide for people, or the outcomes that you see and the things that are possible for myself and for others. And I'm just move it. Like, I loved that.
And I did tell you to go pee. I thought you might be able to get some.
Oh, yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting close, but it was the wrong time to leave.
You have to take a pee break?
I was going to raise my hand, but I'm good. I'm good.
Like
Can I go to the bathroom? Yeah.
Yeah. So as we exit out of here, I guess we're just speaking to our ahas. And Laura McKenna, that's great to talk about, because we were talking about the money flow. It's like, I always bring that CPA sense in that there's definitely logic to the money flow. And I know how to do that in a good way too. That's why I've been able to coach businesses too. But the thing is that, that fear factor, I feel like what we've been talking about here today is that goes away once you keep bringing in all these components we talked about. It's like a well-rounded, thing that we're discussing today. And that's where we get to thrive, and that's where we build more and more community. So I'm excited, Laura, that you're going to be doing retreats. I just did one last weekend, and it was really fun, even though we were doing it virtual. So thank you for being here, ladies. Everyone.
I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready to replan my trip to Italy that I had to postpone. My group trip to Italy. So you can find that on my website too. It'll be in May 2021, currently scheduled for. So it was scheduled for June of 2020, but.
Gosh, I know, and that Italy's been closed, hasn't it, for a while too? So hopefully it opens up. Huh? Yeah. I know there's. So make sure that you get your resources here today. We're going to make sure we're back in the group, putting the links in so everybody knows. And Laura and Christi, I want you to visit this Facebook Live community that we put together on anything that you are doing. So everyone, if you are still getting to know one of us and you want to spend some more time, so Laura has a group, Christi has a group too. Christi, you have a group too, don't you?
I have both Mastering the Art of Life with Christi Corradi, and I have my book, group page, which is Beyond the Box, the book.
Okay, put those links in. Now, anything you're launching, whatever you're doing, this is your family. This is where, because what we're known for is that who's here, I truly believe that they were summoned in, like their spirit was like, I need to be here. So make sure that you got some high touch points. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to, in our audience, we're going to be together again in a month because your podcast is going to get released. So we're going to repurpose it. And then it's going on Apple TV and it's going to be professionally edited. And so I have a recording of this since we didn't get on live, but there'll be some touch points with probably like a 20-minute show that's going to go on Roku TV. So you're going to be able to revisit with a live discussion with Laura and Christi throughout these next 3 months. So when our podcast gets released, we're coming in again. So Laura, when you're thinking about your program, you can even come here and throw out some ideas as you get your flow going. I mean, like utilize this as much as you want.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, 2021 is planned.
The founder of the Fresh Inspiration Show. Guess what?
Sorry, I was looking.
Dusty says yes, and thank you. And we had so many wonderful people. All right. Mwah. Love, love, love you. I hope that you ladies got served in a way that you were hoping that you got today. So I hope that we got to nurture that for you, Laura and Christi. Audience, we did another one. We got 7 under our belt, and we're going to keep on moving. And I want you to take a step back and really see where this goes for you within 24 hours. What are some of the gifts I'd love for you to keep connected with this community? Tell me some of the shifts that you've had. And as we exit today, this isn't goodbye, because we're going to be seeing you as this family coming together in a month. And we're going to talk about what Laura, Christi, and I have been up to, and then and some things that we're launching, and then maybe some new things and ways for people to connect with you. And that's what I love to do here. So let's keep it family style. Let's make sure that we really believe, or learn to believe, that we are not in this in a solo project, that I don't need anybody, or I can do this alone, or I'm a solopreneur, and these things that are solo. And let's start coming together. The things that we're learning is that we can't do this alone. And now we're finally bringing that feminine space in. We can't do this alone. Everybody have a fabulous Wednesday, and love you. Love you.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you so much, Rhonda. This has been great.
Love you too.
I love you too.
And Laura, it was great to hang out with you.
Yes, you too, Christi. It was wonderful to meet you.
Yes, fabulous. See, you just bring people together, Rhonda.
Yes.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.